Is my
Oh,
honor
that's
to
why I
Well,
haven't
moderate
you.
this debate.
yeah,
An
I
important
started
part
before
of our
advertising it because
democracy.
we were a little late.
In
But
Kingsbury Hall
I
tonight, we have
will.
a
In the
small
meantime,
but
I'll
socially
create
distant
a
audience,
That's
and
fine.
we've taken
link
extra
and everything.
precautions
So,
during this pandemic.
how are you
God.
guys doing today?
Among other things, everyone in the audience
I'm
is
all right.
required to wear
I'm
masks,
not good,
and the
but I don't want to get
candidates
into
will
it.
be seated 12 feet
Valid.
apart.
Hey, have I been on a call with you
The
before, my
audience is
guy, or have I not
enthusiastic
met
about
you?
their
I don't think
candidates,
so.
but they've agreed to
Okay,
express
good
that
to meet you.
enthusiasm only
You
twice,
too.
at the end of the debate and now when I introduce the candidates. Please welcome California Senator Kamala Harris and Vice President Mike Pence.
Uh,
Mike Pence always looks confused to walk into a room.
he does, yeah.
Yeah.
He's always like, "This wasn't the door I took when I came in."
Alkazei, what's your Twitter handle again?
Kenny Shipler. KENNYSCHIPPLER.
We're meeting as President Trump and the First Lady continue to undergo treatment in Washington after testing positive for COVID-19. We send our thoughts and prayers to them for their rapid
Thoughts and
and complete
prayers.
recovery and for the recovery of everyone afflicted by the coronavirus. The two campaigns and the Commission on Presidential Debates have agreed to the ground rules for tonight. I'm here to enforce them on behalf of the millions of Americans who are watching. One note, no one in either campaign or at the Commission or anywhere else has been told in advance what topics I'll raise or what questions I'll ask. This 90-minute debate will be divided into 9 segments of about 10
Oh
minutes
no,
each.
no, too
We'll begin
many.
a segment by posing a question.
How long is it? Hour and a half? I don't want
Sometimes
this.
the same question, sometimes a different question.
Dear
on a
God.
different topic. You
Well,
will then have 2 minutes.
it's gonna be
to
cringe, but in a
listen
different
without
way.
interruption by me or the other candidate. Then we'll take 6 minutes or so to discuss these.
All right, just pull the Band-Aid off.
At that
It's
point,
going to be like the
although there
Kevin
will
Castley
always be
versus
more
Sudica
discussion,
debate.
we'll move on
Yeah.
to the next topic.
I never saw that,
We want a
but
debate
It
that's
was
but Americans
not as
also
bad as, you know, the
deserve
first presidential debate,
discussions
obviously,
that are
but
civil.
Is
Things
anything?
are tumultuous
Have you
right
ever
now.
seen a debate that bad?
We will have a respectful exchange
Let me rephrase
on
that.
big issues.
In American politics, for that high of an office.
Let's begin with the ongoing pandemic that
Probably
has
not.
gripped our country.
Okay, there we go.
Senator Harris, the coronavirus is not under control. Over the past week, Johns Hopkins reports that 39 states have had more COVID cases over the past 7 days than in the week before. 9 states have set new records. Even if a vaccine is released soon, the next administration will face hard choices. What would a Biden administration do in January and February that a Trump administration wouldn't do? Would you impose new lockdowns for businesses and schools and hotspots? A federal mandate to wear masks? You have 2 minutes to respond without interruption.
Thank you, Susan. Well, the American people have witnessed what is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country. Here are
no.
the facts.
so
Better finish. Let's just hear all this before we get
210,000
shit.
dead people in our country in just the last several months.
can you turn up the stream a little bit, bro?
Over
I can't
60
hear it.
million people who have
Oh,
contracted
sure.
this disease. 1 in 5 businesses closed. We're looking at
Where's
frontline workers who have been treated like sacrificial lambs.
where the fuck is it? Oh, there we go.
30 million people.
So do you want to keep doing this
who in the
live, or let them
last
both
several
give a
months
statement, then
hit the
pause it and
final
talk
foot
about
in
it?
employment. And
Just
here's
let
the
it go
thing.
live.
Okay.
On January 28th,
We're gonna do an after
the
show
vice president
discussion.
and the president were informed about the nature of this pandemic. They were
Dude,
informed
look
that
at
it's
Pence
lethal
just
in
fucking seething
consequence,
right now.
that it is
He's always
airborne,
seething.
that it will affect young
Every
people,
time he remembers gays exist.
and that it
Yeah.
would be contracted because it is airborne. And they knew what was happening and they didn't tell you. Can you imagine if you knew on January 28th, as opposed to March 13th, what they knew, what you might have done to prepare? They knew and they covered it up. The president said it was a hoax. They minimized the seriousness of it. The president said, you're on one side of his ledger if you wear a mask, you're on the other side of his ledger if you don't. And in spite of all of that, today they still don't have a plan. They still don't have a plan. Well, Joe Biden does. And our plan is about what we need to do around a national strategy for contact tracing, for testing, for administration of the vaccine, and making sure that it will be free for all. That is the plan that Joe Biden has and that I have, knowing that we have to get a hold of what is
Why is my
going
thumbnail
on,
not
and
working?
we need to save our country. And Joe Biden is the best leader to do that. And frankly, this administration has forfeited
Thank you,
their
Senator.
right to re-election based on this.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, more than 210,000 Americans have died of COVID-19 since February. The U.S. death toll as a percentage
There
of
you
our
go.
population is higher than that of almost every other wealthy nation on earth. For instance, our death rate is 2.5 times that of Canada next door. You head the administration's coronavirus task force. Why is the U.S. death toll as a percentage of our population higher than that of almost every other wealthy country? And you have 2 minutes to respond without interruption.
Susan, thank you. And I want to thank the Commission and the University of Utah for hosting this event. And Senator Harris, it's a privilege to be on the stage with you. And our nation has gone through a very challenging time this year.
I think he's trying to go through the
But I want
nice
the
guy
American people to
optics.
know that from the very first
Bro, do you remember his debate with Tim Kaine?
President Donald Trump put the health of America first.
I honestly, I do
Before
think.
there were more than 5 cases.
Yeah,
in the
Kamala's a
United States,
terrible debater,
all
though.
people
So
who had
I
Disagree.
China.
That's the one thing she's got.
President Donald
She
Trump
really?
did what no other
Hasn't
American.
it-
president had
I mean,
ever
she has
done.
more
That
charisma
was
by
the
default.
Hang on, I want to hear his answer real quick.
From China, the second largest economy in the world. Now, Senator Joe Biden opposed that decision. He said it was xenophobic and hysterical. But I can tell you, having led the White House coronavirus task force, that decision alone by President Trump bought us invaluable time to stand up the greatest
That you
national
fucking wasted.
since
Hell
World
yeah,
War
let's
II.
preach, brother.
And I believe it saved hundreds of thousands of American lives. Because
That's-
with that time, we were able to reinvent testing more than
Again, you wasted that opportunity.
That's a great, buddy, but like,
the delivery of
you can't say you
billions of
saved.
supplies. So
Hey
our
guys,
doctors and and we
hoxycarboazine.
began really before the month of February.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Vaccine
Yeah.
to develop medicines and therapeutics that have been saving
A
lives.
for effort, Politicrat.
And under President Trump's leadership, Operation Warp Speed, we believe we'll have literally tens of millions of doses of a vaccine before the end of this year.
That's a fucking
Reality
lie.
is, when you look at the Biden plan, it reads.
I'm gonna
an awful
wait.
lot
I'm gonna wait a bit before I
like
take the
what President
vaccine.
Trump and I and our task force. have
I'm
been
not.
doing.
I'm gonna take it immediately, bro. I'm just gonna fucking.
Quite frankly, when
I
look
respect
at
that, ride or die.
about advancing testing, creating new PPE, developing a vaccine, it looks a little bit like plagiarism, which is something Joe Biden knows a little bit about. And I think the American people know that this is a president who has put the
Thank you,
health
Vice
of America first, and the American people, I believe
Yeah.
in my heart,
Totally.
can be
Thank you,
proud
Vice
of the
President.
sacrifices.
He literally copped the virus and then
Safe.
tweeted out because he couldn't sleep because of fucking Adderall or some shit.
I'd like to
Regardless, it was hilarious.
Whatever the vice president is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked.
Yeah. Trump. I mean,
When you're looking
objectively,
at over
he's been
210,000 dead
incompetent.
bodies in our
Trump is
country,
very incompetent.
American lives that have been
Even-
lost, families that are grieving that loss. And you know,
I even understand
vice
like
president is the head of the task
what justifiable reason there is to vote for Trump at this
and
point,
knew
other than he
on
makes the
January
left angry,
28th
which is
how
a stupid
serious this
position to
was.
take.
And then thanks to Bob Woodward, we learned that they knew about it. And then when that was exposed, the vice president said, when asked, well, why didn't y'all tell anybody? He said, because the president wanted people to remain calm.
Well, let's get.
So no, but Susan, this is important.
Susan, I
I
have
want
to
to add,
weigh
but
in
if, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I have to
I'm
weigh in.
speaking.
Yep,
Ooh.
you can
So
have
I
15 more
wanna-
seconds, and then we'll give the Vice President
Thank
a
you.
chance to
So I
respond.
want to ask the American people, how calm were you when you were panicked about where you're going to get your next roll of toilet paper? How calm were you when your kids were sent home from school and you didn't know when they could go back? How calm
Thank
were
you.
you
Thank
when
you,
your
Senator
children
Harris.
couldn't see your parents because you were afraid they could kill them?
Let's give Vice President Pence a chance to respond. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute to
You know,
respond.
there's not a day gone by that I haven't thought of every American family that's lost a loved one. And I want all of you to know that you'll always be in our hearts.
Oh God.
That doesn't mean shit, bro.
What'd he say?
He said, "You'll always be in our hearts." I'm like, "That's great. I'd like you to be like with me
That's
and
a
not the
great
fucking
disservice.
ground."
The sacrifices the American people have made.
I'm a
The
firm
reality,
President.
if I may finish.
I hate that shit.
The
You can't
reality
say
is, Dr.
sacrifice.
Fauci said, everything that he told the president in the Oval Office, the president told the American people. Now, President Trump, I will tell you, has boundless confidence in the American people, and he always spoke with confidence that we'd get through this together. But when you say it hasn't worked, when Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and our medical experts came to us in the second week of March, they said if the president didn't take the unprecedented step of shutting down roughly half of the American economy, that we could lose 2.2 million Americans. But that's the reality.
Thank you.
They also
Thank you,
said
Vice
to us, if we
President
did
Pence.
everything right, Susan, we could still lose more than 200,000 Americans.
Vice
Now,
President
one
Pence,
life lost is too
Thank you.
many, Susan. But the American people, I believe, deserve credit for the sacrifices that they have made, putting the health of their family and their neighbors first, our doctors, our nurses, our first
Thank you, Vice
responders.
President Pence.
And I'm going to speak up on behalf of what the American people have done.
Vice
It's not a
President Pence, you were
sacrifice if you're
engaged in
forced to
congressional
go back to work.
no social distancing, few masks, and now a cluster of coronavirus cases among those who were there. How can you expect Americans to follow the administration's safety guidelines to protect themselves from COVID when you at the White House have not been doing so?
Well, the American people have demonstrated over the last 8 months that when given the facts, they're willing to put the health of their families and their neighbors and people they don't even know first.
Doesn't make sense.
President Trump and I have
I
great
don't-
confidence in the
I don't get
American
this
people
answer.
and their ability to take that information and put it into practice. In the height of the epidemic, when we were losing a heartbreaking number of 2,500 Americans a day, we surged resources to New Jersey and New York and New Orleans and Detroit. We told the American people what needed to be done, and the American people made the sacrifices. When the outbreak in the Sun Belt happened,
Yeah, the other guy,
again,
the
Americans stepped forward.
the next
the
person he's gonna
reality
come in, he's gonna wear
of the
he's
President
gonna
of the
wear a
United
MAGA
States
hat.
goes on.
He's more of a
The
social
vacancy on the
democrat
Supreme
though, but he
Court
has
of
a
the United
MAGA hat.
States,
Who
has
is?
come upon us.
Whoa,
President
big
introduced
meme
our
energy.
Jamie
Wow.
Carter.
Oh, yeah,
Original.
I know who you're
Thank you,
talking
Vice
about.
President
At that,
Pence.
if I may say, that Rose Garden event, there's been a great deal of speculation about it. My wife Karen and I were there and honored to be there.
Karen, I wonder if his wife
Many of
is
the people
actually
who were
Karen.
at that event, Susan, actually
It's
were
Mike
tested
Pence's
for
wife. What do you
coronavirus.
think?
And it was
Probably.
an outdoor event, which all of our scientists regularly and routinely advise.
What
The
scientists? The
difference
ones
here
that
is
talk about
President
the Earth
Trump and
being
I
6,000
trust
years
the
old?
American people to make choices in the best interest of their health. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris consistently talk about
He was asked
mandates,
why
and
the
not
American
just
people should
mandates for
trust the president
coronavirus,
if
but
he got the
the government
coronavirus, and he
takeover
said,
of health
"We
care.
think they'll make the
Thank
right
you.
Green
call."
New Deal, all government control. We're about freedom and respecting the freedom of the American people.
Let's talk about respect.
We'll
for
let
the
'em
American
die.
people. You respect the American people when you tell them the truth. You respect the American
Like
people
you
when
know
have
what
the
the truth is,
courage
Which we've
to be
Kamala.
a
always
leader
done.
speaking of those things that you may not want people to hear, but they need to hear so they can protect themselves. But this administration stood on information that if you had as a parent, if you had as a worker, knowing you didn't have enough money saved up, and now you're standing in a food line because of the ineptitude
Hey, damnation.
of a
Hello.
administration that was unwilling to speak the truth to the American people. So let's talk about.
I want
caring
to talk
the
about something
American
that
people. The
Kamala
American
Harris is
people have
doing, right?
sacrificed far
She's
too
talking
much
out of both
because
sides of
the
her mouth right here.
incompetence of
No,
One,
do you
this
think actually? Do you
It
think
is
you can turn
asking
your
too
mic
much
down
of the
a little
people.
bit?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
Vice
yeah.
It is
President
asking
Pence.
too much of
Thanks.
the people.
Let-
That they would not be equipped with the information they need to help themselves to protect
Susan,
their
the
parents
president-
and
No,
their
I'm sorry.
children.
Kamala Harris, Senator Harris, I'm sorry.
It's
I
fine,
meant
I'm Kamala.
No,
Agreed,
Senator
Crystal.
Harris to me. For life to get back to normal, Dr. Anthony Fauci and other experts say that most of the people who can be vaccinated need to be vaccinated. But half of Americans now say they wouldn't take a vaccine if it was released now. If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health
Is that
professionals,
better?
if Dr.
Yeah.
Fauci, if
So
the
I wanna-
doctors
there's two things
tell
that
us that we
Kamala
should
Harris
take it,
is
I'll be the
doing
first
here,
in
right?
line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald
she's
Trump tells
saying
us that we
that
should take it, I'm not
The
taking it.
American people should have been
Vice
told
President
about
Pence,
this,
there have been
right?
a lot of repercussions.
And
of the pandemic. In
that
recent days, the president's
Trump
diagnosis of
downplayed it,
COVID-19
right?
underscored the importance
then proceeds
of
to
the
bring
job
up the
that
fact,
you
it's like,
hold
look
in
what
the
happened when they
presidency.
brought the toilet paper. It's like,
That's
no,
our
that's my
second
fucking
topic
point.
tonight.
Look what happened with
It's the
toilet
role
paper.
of
And
the
that
White
was
House.
with Trump downplaying.
One
The
of you
fuck
will
do you
make
think they would
history
have done if
today
they would have
by
told him it was a real
you,
thing?
the vice president to the oldest
So yeah, we can talk more about that
Yeah.
after the debate is over because we're gonna do about 30 minutes of just going over the stuff. So
That already has raised concerns among some voters, concerns that have been sharpened by President Trump's hospitalization in recent days. Vice President Pence, have you had a conversation or reached an agreement with President Trump about safeguards or procedures when it comes to the issue of presidential disability? And if not, do you think you should? You have 2 minutes without interruption.
Well, Susan, thank you, although I would like to go back.
I think we need to move on
Well,
to the
thank
issue
you,
of
but I would like to
vice
go back
presidency.
because the reality is that we're going to have a vaccine, Senator, in record time, in unheard
Yeah,
of
well,
time.
The key word is a
We
vaccine,
have
not
5
necessarily a
companies in
coronavirus
phase 3
vaccine.
clinical trials. And we're
What do you
right
mean?
now producing
What
tens
the
of
fuck is
millions
that?
of doses.
What I mean is like, it's going to be a vaccine that fucking works or
The
not.
fact that you
They're gonna have
continue
something just so they can say they have
undermine
it.
public
No,
confidence
not at
in a
all.
vaccine.
Moderna is actually
If the
working on
vaccine
an RNA
emerges
vaccine
during the
that's,
Trump administration, I think
has
is
proven
is
to be effective
unconscionable.
towards
And Senator, I just ask you,
vaccinations and
stop
showing an
playing
immune
politics
response
with
towards the
people's lives. The
coronavirus.
reality is,
And how long has it been in a
we'll have
testing
vaccine,
phase?
we believe, before the end of
What
this
does that
year.
matter?
And it
What
will have
matters
the
is you don't know
capacity
the
to save
effects of drugs in short
countless
term. That's not how
American
it
lives,
works.
and your continuous undermining
Oh, we did with the
of
hydroxychloroquine
confidence in a
inhibitor.
vaccine is just,
So-
it's just
So
unacceptable.
hold on a
Chloroquine.
second.
Let me also
hold
say,
on 1 second here, right?
You know, the
so what you're
reality is
saying,
when you
right,
talk about
is that we
about
should
failure
not
in this
trust the
administration.
scientists, right?
we actually
All
do
right,
know what
hold
failure
up.
looked like in a
Listen.
pandemic. It was
First off,
2009.
Bitch coming from
Don't-
some
Swine flu
idea.
arrived
First
in the
off, don't
United
do that.
States.
Okay?
Thankfully, it was ended up
All I'm
being
saying
lethal.
is you don't sign America up to a test trial. That's
Before
not
the
how
end
that's not how
when Joe Biden
vaccinations are supposed to work on a large scale like that. While small scale testing on willing participants is a thing, you don't just ship out an alpha to the entire country.
No one's saying it's going to be an alpha, right?
I'm saying that if you're looking at the time frames, there is no statistical way that it can be what it needs to be in time.
Guys, we're not gonna have a meta debate over this. Like I said, maybe guys, if you guys want to, maybe like
I mean,
write a quick note.
this guy just literally critiqued me saying I don't believe in science, and I'm not really just going to sit for that.
They left an empty and hollow.
Of course I am, because you're being absurd, because there's scientists that are saying this can be done.
I'm not saying again, can be
Vice
proud
President Pence, I'm
of
sorry, your
what
time
we
is
have
up.
done.
So which scientists
Thank
are we
you, Vice
supposed to
President.
believe
Undermining
here?
confidence in
right?
vaccine.
Senator Harris, let me
The
ask
ones
you
that
same
say it
question
can be
that
done
I
or the
asked
ones that say it
Vice
can't?
President Pence.
What's your
Guys-
point with this?
Guys,
had a
science doesn't
conversation.
exist. God
Reached
created
an
the world in
agreement with
7
Vice
days,
President Biden
literal
No,
days.
about
Everybody.
The
safeguards
point that I'm
of
trying to make
procedures
is don't sit
when
there
it
and be a
comes to
fucking
the
partisan
issue
hack
of
when you say
presidential
that it
disability.
can't
And if
be done.
not, and if you win the
Guys, both of
election
you,
next
both of you
month,
guys,
do you think
save.
I haven't done
save,
anything.
Save the debate to the very end.
So let me tell you, first of all, the day I got the call from Joe
Can you
Biden.
turn the debate back up?
his Zoom call,
Yeah, sure. You guys can state. You guys can make like little quips here and there, just like on what you think of it. But I don't want any actual
I thought about my
like
mother,
disagreement until the very, very end.
came to the United States at the age
Like
of
actually
19,
like discussing that sort of thing. So.
gave birth to me at the age of 25 at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. And the thought that I'd be sitting here right now, I know would make her proud. And she must be looking down on this. You know, Joe and I were raised in a very similar way. We were raised with values that are about hard work, about the value and the dignity of public service, and about the importance of fighting for the dignity of all people. And I think Joe asked me to serve with him because, you know, I have a career that included being elected the first woman district attorney of San Francisco, where I created models of innovation for law enforcement in terms of reform of the criminal justice system. I was elected the first woman of color and Black woman to be elected Attorney General of the state of California, where I ran the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, second only to the United States Department of Justice. And there I took on everything from transnational criminal organizations to the big banks that were taking advantage of homeowners, to for-profit colleges that were taking advantage of veterans.
Innocent
Right,
Black
And
guys.
of course,
I
now
was
serve
actually
in the
just going to
United
say that,
States
yeah,
Senate. There's only
and
the
also
second Black
imprison
woman
some of
ever
the
elected
largest.
to the United
Honestly,
States
I don't
Senate.
think
serve on the
that
Senate Intelligence
none of the
Committee,
four
where
of us
I've been
like Kamala
regular
Harris.
receipt of classified
Or
information about
or Pence for that
threats to our
matter. So.
nation and hotspots around the world. I've
I don't think
traveled the
Kamala
world.
likes
I've met with our soldiers in war zones. And I think Joe has asked me to serve with him because he knows that we share a purpose, which is about lifting up the American people. And after the 4 years that we have seen of Donald Trump unifying our country around our common values and principles.
Thank you, Senator Harris. You know, neither President Trump nor Vice President Biden has released a sort of detailed health information that had become the modern norm until the 2016 election. And in recent days, President Trump's doctors have given misleading answers or refused to answer basic questions about his health. And my question to each of you in turn is this information voters deserve to know? Vice President Pence, would you like to go first?
Well, Susan, thank you. And let me say, on behalf of the President and the First Lady, how moved we've all been by the outpouring of prayers and concern for the President. And I do believe it's emblematic of the prayers and the concern that have ushered forth for every American impacted by the coronavirus. But the care the President received at Walter Reed Hospital, the White House doctors, was exceptional. And the transparency that they practiced all along the way will continue. The American people have a right to know about the health and well-being of their president, and will continue to do that. But I'm just extremely grateful and was more than a little moved by the broad and bipartisan support. And Senator, I want to thank you and Joe Biden for your expressions of genuine concern. And I also want to congratulate you, as I did on that phone call, on the historic nature of your nomination.
Thank you.
I never expected to be on this stage 4 years ago.
He's
so
playing the
I'm
nice
feeling-
guy in this debate. That's actually,
Yes.
I mean, I
reality
see, I mean,
is,
I think
we've got
it's
an
like,
election
I still don't
before
think
the
he's
American
being
people in the midst of
sincere,
this
but
challenging year.
I think
And the stakes
that
have never been higher.
Thank
I
you.
think
he's
the
making him,
choices
he's
have
making
been-
I wanna
himself
give
look good.
Senator Harris a chance to
technically.
respond to the same question I asked, which is, do voters have a right to know more detailed health information about presidential candidates and especially about presidents, especially when they're facing some kind of challenge?
Absolutely, and that's why Joe Biden has been so incredibly transparent, and certainly by contrast, the president has not, both in terms of health records, but also let's look at taxes. We now know, because of great investigative journalism, that Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. When I first heard about it, I literally
Dude,
said,
like,
"You mean $700?"
basically, so controversial
And it was like,
opinion,
no,
but basically, I think if you
$750.
manage to get out of
We now
paying
know Donald
taxes,
Trump
like you've
owes
won and that's your
and is
prize,
in debt
like you made it in life. That's my,
$400 million. And
I
just so everyone is
tend to
clear,
agree with
when
you.
we say in debt, it
However,
means you owe money to somebody.
There isn't a single fucking
And
shred
it'd
of
be
evidence
really
that
good
backs
to
up
know
that statement
who the
whatsoever.
president of the
You can
United
say
States,
it's
the
investigative
commander in
journalism.
chief,
They don't release
owes
any
you
of
money.
this.
Yeah, no, the thing
because
is,
the
it wasn't.
American people have a right
Yeah, it
to
was
know
it was kind of skewed.
what is
To be
influencing
fair,
the president's
but
decisions.
that is
And
one of
is
like
he
they do.
making those
Like Trump
decisions in the
sucks, but
best
there are
interest of the
legitimate
American people, of you,
scumbags
or
out there who
self-interest?
spread false
So,
information
Susan, I'm
or
glad
skew
you asked
it.
about
So.
transparency. Because
Well, I
it has
never
to be
viewed the issue itself as the
Joe has
taxes,
been
but mainly
incredibly
the amount of money
transparent
he owes.
over many, many years.
I feel
The
like
one
that's a
thing we all
greater
know about
assessment of
Joe,
risk,
he puts it all out there. He is
and it's a
honest.
significant deal of money that will come due during his
Donald Trump,
presidency.
on the other hand,
Susan.
has been
Thank-
about covering up everything.
Thank you, Senator Harris. I want to give you a chance to respond, Vice President.
Well, look, I respect the fact that Joe Biden spent 47 years in public life. I respect your public service as well.
I know
The
where this is
American
going.
people have a president.
She's gonna
He's a
get mad at
businessman,
him for being.
job creator.
She's gonna get really mad at Mike Pence
Tens
for
of
He's
about
no, he's
millions
troll.
of
Like
dollars
he's
in
almost.
taxes.
It seems like he's
Payroll
sort of
taxes,
trolling her with
property taxes.
killing her with
He's
kindness.
created tens of thousands of
He's
American
being
jobs.
nice and
The
trolling
president
the
said
ever
those
living shit
public
out of her at the
reports
same
are
time. It's great.
Not accurate. And the president's also released literally stacks of financial disclosures the American people can review just as the law allows. But the distinction here is that Joe Biden, 47 years in public service, compared to President Donald Trump, who brought all of that experience 4 years ago.
Thank you, Vice
And
President.
turned this economy around by cutting taxes, rolling back regulation.
Thank you,
unleashing
thank you,
American
That's not how that works,
fighting
though.
for free
That is
and fair
exactly how
trade.
it worked with the
and
Trump
all of
presidency.
that's
Thank
He
you.
inherited his entire economy.
Kamala Harris.
You know, that's a
I-
good
it's-
segue
there's
into
nuance
our
to it
third
there,
topic,
guys.
which is about the economy. This has been another aspect of life for Americans that's been so affected by this coronavirus. We have a jobs crisis brewing. On Friday, we learned that the unemployment rate had declined to 7.9% in September, but the job growth had stalled, and that was before the latest round of layoffs and furloughs in the airline industry at Disney and elsewhere. Hundreds of thousands of discouraged workers have stopped looking for work. Nearly 11 million jobs that existed at the beginning of the year haven't been replaced. Those hardest hit include Latinos, Blacks, and women. Senator Harris, the Biden-Harris campaign has proposed new programs to boost the economy, and you would pay for that new spending by raising $4 trillion in taxes on wealthy individuals and corporations. Some economists warn that could curb entrepreneurial ventures that fuel growth and create jobs. Would raising taxes put the recovery at risk? And you have 2 minutes to answer uninterrupted.
Thank you. On the issue of the economy, I think there couldn't be a more fundamental difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Joe Biden believes you measure the health and the strength of America's economy based on the health and the strength of the American worker and the American family. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who measures the strength of the economy based on how rich people are doing, which is why he passed a tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America, leading to a $2 trillion deficit that the American people are going to have to pay for. On day one, Joe Biden will repeal that tax bill. He'll get rid of it. And what he'll do with the money is invest it in the American people. And through a plan that is about investing in infrastructure, something that Donald Trump said he would do. I remember hearing about some infrastructure week. I don't think it ever happened. But Joe Biden will do that. He'll invest in infrastructure. It's about upgrading our roads and bridges, but also investing in clean energy and renewable energy. Joe is going to invest that money in what we need to do
I do
around
agree.
innovation.
No,
There
the thing
was
is,
a time
she's.
when our
I
country
honestly think that
believed in science and invested in research.
I can't. I don't
and
know if
development
Kamala is
so that
evil
we were
like
an
Pence,
innovation
or if she's
leader
just like,
on the globe.
or if she's
Joe
just
Biden will use
totally
that money to
greedy and just
invest in
has no.
education.
If she's
So, for example,
just amoral and
folks
doesn't
who
give a
wanna go to
shit,
two-year
or if
community
she's
college,
actually
it will be
conniving and
free.
evil.
If you come from a family that makes less
I
than
think she's amoral.
$125,000, you'll go to a public university for free. And across the board, we'll make sure
They are
that
dancing
you have
over the
student
corpse
loan
of Bernie
debt is
Sanders
cut by
right now.
$10,000.
That's pretty funny.
That's how Joe
And you're
Biden
a
thinks
Bernie.
about the
You. I don't know.
economy.
From what I remember,
It's
you're a
about
Bernie fan
investing
too.
in
I
the
was a
our
Bernie
country
fan until he
as
flipped into
opposed to passing a tax
a little
bill,
bit more adherence
which
to
had the
social
benefit of letting American corporations go offshore.
Imagine being a fan of
There
Bernie, SMH.
Thank you,
You're
Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, your administration has been predicting a rapid and robust recovery, but the latest economic report suggests that's not happening. Should Americans be braced for an economic comeback that is going to take not months, but a year or more? You have 2 minutes to answer.
Absolutely, they should. It's the
President
stock
Trump and I
market
talked
has.
America
It's a
gone
horrible
through
fucking time for anybody who's trying to invest right now.
Well,
Joe
not.
Biden was vice president.
No, that's
we
actually
could
not true. It's actually
tax and
perfect
spend
for
and
people who
regulate
are looking to
and bail
invest.
our way back to a growth.
Well, if you're looking to do options trading,
Trump
yes.
has-
However, in terms of long-term gains, that's not conducive to
I mean,
health.
did you see what happened with
The average American
Apple and
family of
Tesla
four
though
had
about a month ago?
$2,000 in savings.
Yes, that's because we hit the money printer and added $1 trillion to our
Rise in
deficit in 1
wages
month.
that occurred, most predominantly for blue-collar, hardworking Americans. The average household income for a family of four increased by $4,000 following President Trump's tax cuts. But America, you just heard Senator Harris tell you, on day one, Joe Biden's going to raise your taxes. It's really remarkable to think, Susan. I mean, right after a time where we're going through a pandemic that lost 22 million jobs at the height, we've already added back 11.6 million jobs because we had a president who cut taxes, rolled back regulation, unleashed American energy, fought for free and fair trade, and secured $4 trillion from the Congress of the United States to give direct payments to families, save 50 million jobs through the Paycheck Protection Program. We literally have spared no expense to help the American people and the American worker through this. Joe Biden.
But what about all the money that the Pentagon filed away from
raised
VEE?
taxes, want to bury our economy under a $2 trillion Green New Deal, which you were one of the original co-sponsors of in the United States Senate. They want to abolish fossil fuels and ban fracking, which would cost hundreds of thousands of
That's so
American
funny.
jobs all across
That's the
heart.
dumbest fucking statement
Joe
I've heard.
Biden-
Goddamn.
The Green New Deal does talk about effectively.
I'll acknowledge the Green New Deal is too much.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, I'm not going to sit here and try and say it's something like that. However, certain precautions are needed to be taken. Though I am a proponent of nuclear power, so
Same, yeah.
Fair enough. At least you're not
Make no
accusing
mistake
of
about
doing
it, Susan.
I mean,
The American
nuclear
economy
fission is the
come
key
back
to
on
energy
ballot
needs.
With 4 more years
So-
of growth,
Thank you.
an opportunity,
Thank you,
4
Vice
more
President.
years of President Donald
Also,
Trump.
we should stop simping for the coal
2021
Thank you,
industry.
Vice
big
President.
economic
For the
year.
who?
For the
Thank you, Vice
coal
President.
industry.
Senator Harris.
It's destroyed
Well,
it's destroyed the Appalachian economy by not letting other industries develop.
God, the fucking coal industry is the chode of American energy. It's just, oh my God. My family's had to deal with the fucking state legislature that's ebbed in that industry, and they are just absolutely fucking dumb as hell.
Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. That was tax cuts that gave the average working family $2,000 in a tax break every single year.
That is
Bro, you just said $4,000, now you're saying two.
Is he only going to repeal part of the Trump tax cuts?
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then
Please.
have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay. Joe Biden will not raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year.
Don't raise taxes on anyone. Cut everyone's taxes.
Joe Biden will not, in fact.
Alkazei, do you agree? You agree with me, right?
Abolish personal income tax.
Joe Biden.
LBT all the way, baby.
Value-added
Is
tax.
the one who.
No,
during the
national sales
Great
tax.
Recession
No.
was
No, dude, you can replace the national
For the
sales tax with the
Recovery Act
value-added tax, and
that
it's
brought
effectively
America
abolished.
National
back in
land
that-
value tax and national value-added tax.
Yep.
With
I
universal.
just want public utilities.
Coattails of Joe Biden's success for the economy that they had at the beginning of their term. Of course, now the economy is a complete disaster. But Joe Biden, on the one hand,
black
did
swan
that.
event,
On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who has reigned over a recession that is being compared to the Great
Like how she said
Depression. On the
rain.
one hand, you have
That
Joe
was
Biden,
the part that fucking
who
got
was
me. I'm like,
responsible with President
Very
Barack
cool.
Obama for the Affordable Care Act,
very.
which brought healthcare to
No,
over
he's less.
20
Trump is
million
less of a
Americans and
king
protected
and more
people
of a
with
Caesar.
pre-existing conditions. And what it also did is it saved those families who otherwise were going bankrupt.
I think to compare Donald Trump to Julius Caesar is an insult to
No.
historians.
Okay, no, I'm not comparing him to Julius Caesar. I'm saying he is a Caesar in terms of the archetype. No, he's more of a Crassus, actually.
You will lose
He's a
protection
Crassus.
if you have pre-existing conditions.
I feel like the closest thing you could ever compare Donald Trump and his family to are the brothers Gracchi, and it's going to end the same.
No. The Gracchi, that was more like
If
Bernie
you have a
Sanders or
pre-existing
the
condition,
Kennedys, maybe.
heart disease,
No, because the Gracchi were
diabetes,
actually
breast cancer,
sincere.
they're coming for you.
Trump
If you
was
love
like
someone
Publius
who has a
Pulcher,
pre-existing
who was
condition,
literally the
Thank you,
Roman
they're
Senator
Trump.
coming for you. If you are under the age of 26 on your parents' coverage, they're coming for you.
Senator Harris, thank you. Let me
They're
give you a chance.
coming for you.
Well, I hope we have a
They're
talk about
coming
healthcare
for
because
ya.
Obamacare was a disaster. The American people remember it well.
I
President
remember
Trump
it's the one way I can get coverage right now if I didn't have a job. That, like,
Okay, guys, to be fair, Obamacare, the thing is, it's
It's
not.
Look,
No, I was about to say no. I was about to say it's not as bad as Republicans say it is, especially because
Democrats say it is either.
it serves
No,
the
that's
job
true.
it needs to.
It's a
Joe
half
Biden
measure.
looked at the
It
It's better-
serves.
yeah.
It's the best It's the best that could be done at the time with the government in power. I'm not
we should
championing it.
go.
I'm just saying it accomplished a objective.
I'm just the most I'm willing to go is like a subsidy program.
Green New Deal.
But that's kind of what we have now. But what I ideally want is
abolishing fossil
get rid of
fuels,
insurance
crushing
companies
American
altogether. Make it
energy,
between you and the
He's
doctor.
actually outlining what the bad parts of the Green New Deal are.
Wait, make it what?
decline. President Trump and I will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's underway right now will continue.
Fuck off.
Donald Trump.
Thank you very, very much, Vice President Pence. Once again, you've provided the perfect
V-shaped recovery. Fuck off, retard.
climate change. And Vice President Pence, I'd like to pose the first question to you. This year, we've seen
gotta do is you gotta get
record-setting
consumer
hurricanes
confidence
in the
back, right?
south. Another one, Hurricane Delta, is now threatening the Gulf.
Oh,
And we have seen record-setting wildfires in the West.
oh, here we go.
Do you
Climate change.
believe, as the scientific community has concluded, that man-made climate change has made wildfires bigger, hotter, and more deadly, and have made hurricanes wetter, slower, and more damaging? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
That's more of a truism.
Thank you, Susan. Well, first, I'm very proud of our record on the environment and on conservation.
What?
According to all the best,
Oh, watch.
Our-
This
our
is
air
actually a
and
true
land are
statement.
cleaner than any time ever recorded. Our water is among
Yes.
the cleanest in the world.
That's
And
true.
just a little while ago, the president signed the Outdoors Act. It's the largest investment in our public lands and public parks in
That's
100
also
years.
true.
So President Trump has made a commitment to conservation and to the environment. Now, with regard to climate change, the climate is changing. The issue is, what's the cause and what do we do about it? President Trump has made it clear that we're going to continue to listen to the science.
No.
Now, Joe Biden
No.
and Kamala Harris would put us back in the Paris Climate Accord. They'd impose the Green New Deal,
That thing's an atrocity.
which would
Paris
crush American energy.
I don't know enough about it to make a.
Everything about the commitment of the Paris Climate Accords is completely optional. There are no punishments if you don't meet your quotas that you set for yourself. Okay.
I found it funny that even
in a
Putin did it.
cleaner environment
Putin
has been happening
signed it.
precisely because
when
free market.
denying global warming and
You know,
spreading
what's remarkable is
disinformation on climate
the United
change would
States
actually
has
be in their
reduced
best interest.
CO2 more than the countries that are still in the Paris Climate Accord, but we've done it through innovation, and we've done it through natural gas and
Yes.
fracking,
Yes.
which, Senator, the American people can go look at the record. I know Joe Biden says otherwise now, as you do, but the both of you repeatedly committed to abolishing fossil fuel and banning of fracking. And so by creating the kind of American
The abolishment of fossil fuel and the banning of fracking are two very, very different things, though.
with regard to wildfires, President Trump and I believe that forest management.
I believe fracking in your home country in the long run is a very bad call.
Forest management. And with regard to
Well, the
hurricanes,
thing is, we have to do it to ease the transition.
I know. I'm not saying stop it because it's just fracking bad. I'm just simply saying it's something that needs to be acknowledged that this is going to. We just need to know that what's going to happen.
alarmists
President Pence,
use
I'm sorry, your time is
hurricanes
up.
and wildfires to try and
Thank
sell
you,
their
Vice
bill of
President
goods of a
Pence.
green.
Ooh,
New Deal.
wildfires.
President Trump and I are going to always put
Thank you,
American
Vice
jobs and
President
American
Pence.
workers first.
Senator Harris, as the Vice President mentioned, you co-sponsored the Green New Deal in Congress.
Cringe.
But Vice President Biden said in last week's debate,
We need a
that he
green
does not
nuclear deal,
support
guys.
The Green New Deal. But if you look at the Biden-Harris campaign website, it describes.
And
the
they should
Green New
literally
Deal
call it the green
as a
nuclear
crucial
deal,
frame.
kind of to troll them in a
Exactly
sense.
would be the stance of a Biden-Harris administration toward the Green New Deal. You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. So first of all, I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact.
Fair enough.
That is a fact.
We're gonna put that. We're gonna put that on the wall right
repeat
here. I'm gonna memorize that.
That Joe
Biden
Biden
will
has
not
been
ban
very clear
fracking. Fair
that
enough.
he
We
thinks
got
about
Kamala Harris
growing
today.
jobs, which is why he will not increase taxes for anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year.
Don't increase taxes on
Joe
anyone.
Biden's economic
Right.
plan, Moody's,
Let people
which
keep
is a
more of their
reputable
money.
Wall Street firm, has said will create 7 million more jobs than Donald Trump's.
The Green New
And
Deal?
part of those
How?
jobs
How
will
does
be
that
created
happen?
by Joe Biden are going to be
Explain to
about
me how the
clean
fucking
energy
Green New Deal
and
does that.
renewable energy.
I
Because
think the base idea is starting up a new industry or
that
flooding a
direct
pre-existing
growth of
one
our country is
is
burning.
jobs down through training as well as basic construction and implementation.
What is happening on the
And
Gulf
since it's a newer energy field, it'll likely last longer. I personally believe solar power may not be as useful at the moment in the long term, but in terms of like real estate integration, there are great possibilities in that.
I'll say something, Susan. I served when I
There
first
could
got to
potentially be
Senate
some
on
innovations
the
out of
committee
the
that's
solar industry.
responsible
No,
for the
or
environment.
here's
You know, this
what I say:
administration
get rid of environmental
took the word
regulations and
science
do
off
carbon
the
and state
website.
carbon pricing instead.
and then took the phrase
You want
climate
to do like
change
a pollution
off the
tax
website.
instead?
We
Bruh,
consider-
if you don't expect people to pay regular taxes, how the fuck do you think they're gonna like willingly pay a carbon one?
and who's gonna deal with
Okay,
it?
this
We're
is what you
also
do.
gonna create
Then
jobs. Donald Trump,
incentivize
when
them
asked
by
about
saying,
the
okay,
wildfires
we
in
will cut your
California,
taxes
and
below
the
this certain,
question was,
like
you
the
know,
more
the
and
science is
more
telling us this. You know what
they
Donald
reduce
Trump
their
said?
emissions,
Science
like
doesn't
do it
know.
per ton, the less in
So,
taxes they will have to
Let's
pay
talk about who is prepared
ultimately.
to
And
lead
then
our
if
country
not, if they
over the
pay, if
course
they
of
do
the
more
next
than
4
that, then you
years
can raise
on
it
what
and
is
do
an
sort of a
existential
progressive carbon
threat
tax.
to us as
And then
human
that money
beings.
will be taken
Joe is
from
about
them
saying
and
we're
either
gonna
given
invest in
back
renewable
to the
energy, which is
people
gonna be
in
about the
exchange
creation of
because
millions of
prices of
jobs.
gas are
We
going to
will
rise.
achieve
Or what you
net
do is you use it
zero
to
emissions by
subsidize
2050,
alternative
carbon
energy
neutral
as
by
well, and nuclear.
2035. Joe has a plan.
And
There's been a lot of
create
talk
bounty,
since the Trump
bounty
administration,
contracts
and
from the
really it
government
has been to go
to
backward
innovation
instead of
and
forward.
invention
We will
for
also
Exactly,
re-enter
yeah.
the climate agreement with Pi.
Senator Harris just said that climate change is an existential threat. Vice
Bullshit.
President Pence,
Climate change is an existential, is a quote unquote threat, but it's not like,
It's not.
it's no, because because
changing.
climate change
We'll follow the
alarmists, I don't
science.
see them as
But,
being any different than the people who
once
think the
again,
rapture's coming next week.
Senator Harris
Right.
Okay, I think that's a bit of an exaggeration.
denying the fact that they're going to
I
raise
would
taxes.
just like to say that climate refugees are a significant issue, and you can
No,
see
I'm
that
referring.
already
I'm
here.
referring to the I'm
Anyone
referring to the
who was going to
epistemology
repeal
behind it.
the
Well, you didn't specify that, and if you're going to make that point, it's something you need to put in.
the
I-
average family across across America.
Because, I mean, you can look at the expansion of the Sahara Desert and how it's affected Africa as a very clear example of climate refugees. You can look at the fact that Miami is supposed to be one of the first cities without, I think it was a basic, something with water supplies. I read the article a while ago.
Honestly,
it's a problem.
I'm fine. I don't care about Florida. Like literally, the entire fucking state can go underwater. That's how much I hate Florida.
It's not about Florida. It's the example it sets.
Right, exactly. Like, let's be fair about this. The reason why Jora is bringing this up is to point out, to try to create, to try to present evidence to you that climate change is a real thing, right?
We'll continue
Yeah.
to share. We've made great progress.
Climate refugees are going to cause a massive problem for population density. And the Midwestern United States does not have the infrastructure, nor will it under this administration, to take on needs of this nature.
The thing is, we also need to look at historical cycles. In terms of, for instance, the thing is, there's no such thing as an indigenous people anywhere.
It makes no sense. It will cost
like everybody. There's always migrations. There are always invasions. There's always all these people mix, people merge, new empires start. Ancient Mesopotamia. The thing is, so climate change is like largely, mostly at this point, contributed to by human activity. That is a scientific fact. However, humans have always adapted to these kind of challenges. And
I actually got an even better way to say this. Humans have survived to the point that we are by crushing the earth to suit our needs, right?
No, the thing is, ancient Mesopotamia, the same thing happened. They contributed to, they overfarmed, they burned trees, and the place became a desert. But then what happened? They adapted, and then like you had like Sargon of Akkad who came in.
Well, this is a fundamental difference of scale, and I'm a huge fan of the historical perspective.
And the American people know what I'm talking about.
I was making a dumb joke.
But the thing is, Jora, every single time. Okay, we'll talk about this later.
Now, and you're wondering,
there should be an episode on this of the political pig pen or something.
We're looking at people who are trying to figure out how they're going to pay rent by the end of the month. Almost half of American renters are worried about whether they're going to be able to pay rent by the end of the month.
The real estate crisis is a problem.
Right now, and it is because of the catastrophe and the failure of leadership of this administration.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you just 15 seconds to respond, because then I want to move on.
Well, I'd love to respond. Look, lost the trade war with China. Joe Biden never fought it.
Wait, we lost the trade war with China?
We did not lose that trade war.
What? We shouldn't have had it to begin with.
Senator Harris, you're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own fact.
On
Joe Biden was vice president. We lost 200,000
manufacturing
jobs.
Much better way to have countered China would have been to actually go through and do TPP. That was actually a good idea. That is the best way to counter China.
This administration saw 500,000 manufacturing jobs created. And that's exactly the kind of growth.
That's the whole point. That was what the TPP was going for. Most people who criticize the TPP don't know what the TPP actually was supposed to do, and it drives me crazy.
Jobs this time, just like it killed jobs.
I just hate to respond very
15 seconds.
Thank you.
Which was to put them in an agreement.
Joe Biden is responsible for saving America's auto industry, and you voted against it. So let's put the record
straight. They have to be cut off from the
I'd like to talk about China.
Trying to play nice with them doesn't work anymore. They are too big.
We have no more complicated or consequential foreign relationship than the one with China. It is a huge market.
All right, let's finish talking about this later.
Potential partner in dealing with climate change in North Korea. And in a video tonight, President Trump again blamed it for the coronavirus, saying China will pay. Vice President Pence, how would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Competitors, adversaries, enemies? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Susan. Well, before I leave that, let me speak to voting records if I can. You know, everybody knows that NAFTA cost literally thousands of American factories to close. So automotive.
Shut the fuck up. No, that's not how trade works.
To renegotiate NAFTA. And the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement is now the law of the land. American people deserve to know Senator Kamala Harris was one of only 10 members of the Senate to vote against the USMCA. It was a huge win for American auto workers. It was a huge win for American farmers, especially dairy in the upper Midwest. But Senator, you said it didn't go far enough on climate change, that you put your radical environmental agenda ahead of American auto workers and ahead of American jobs. I think the American people deserve to know that. Is probably why Newsweek.
Okay, to be
magazine
fair,
said
it's
that
not like Kamala Harris is
was
Greta
the most
Thunberg or
liberal
something.
member of the United
It's
States.
not like
Senate
it's
in
not like
2019.
she's
more liberal than Bernie Sanders.
It's not like she's
more liberal than any.
she's
of the
writing
judges in the
apocrypha.
United States Senate. So
The funniest part of this debate is Pence trying to convince the American people that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have way more power than they've had.
China is to blame for the coronavirus.
No, the thing is, it's their handlers that have. It's the managerial
President
class
Trump
that has
is not
powers.
happy
It's
about
the
it.
managerial
He's made that
elite
very clear. Made it clear again today. China and the World Health Organization
who
did not play
controls
straight with
both the
American
Democrats
people.
and conservative Inc.
They did not.
We're
let
not talking about this.
into China to get information on the coronavirus until the middle of February. Fortunately, President Trump, in dealing with China from the outset of this administration, standing up to China that had been taking advantage of America for decades in the wake of Joe Biden's cheerleading for China, President Trump made that decision before the end of January to suspend all travel from China. And again, the American people deserve to know Joe Biden opposed President Trump's decision to suspend all travel from China.
That
He
is
said it
true.
was hysterical.
That is 100%
Thank you, Vice President
correct.
Pence.
But President Trump
Called him a
stood up to
xenophobic
China. We're
racist
gonna
when he did
continue
it.
to stand strong.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
We want to improve the relationship, but we're going to level the playing field, and we're going to hold
Vice President
China
Pence.
accountable for what they did to America with the coronavirus.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hold
Senator,
up.
Ask you the same
I don't
question
trust them to
I
keep
asked
doing
Vice
corona
President.
like COVID.
How would you
Well,
describe
China lied
our
and people died.
fundamental
Man.
relationship
China lied and
with
people
China?
died.
Are we competitors, adversaries, enemies? You have 2
friends.
minutes uninterrupted.
Susan, the Trump administration's
Trump
perspective and
administration's
approach to China
perspective.
has resulted in the loss of American lives, American jobs, and America's standing. There's a weird obsession that President Trump has had with getting rid of whatever accomplishment was achieved by President Obama and Vice President Biden. For example, they created within the White House an
Here we
office
go, the pandemic response
that
team.
basically was responsible for monitoring pandemics.
Yep.
They got away, they got rid of it.
Not true.
There was a team of disease experts that President Obama and Vice
This
President
is such
Biden
a bullshit
sent
point.
to China to monitor
It's a valid one.
what is now predictable.
Not
and what
really.
we are
Not when you look at what the
hoping out.
pandemic response team was supposed
We
to do.
now are looking
Then
at
why did you just get rid of the team and not try to update it? I mean, you
Well,
president was
Because
elected.
it was useless. It
Let's
was
look at it
literally useless, right?
optically.
So
we mentioned
basically
before,
what the pandemic
trade
response
deal.
team was a
Trade
bunch
deal
of fucking
they wanted to follow
managers
from China.
that were supposed to
resulted in the
facilitate
loss
the
of
information transferring, right?
manufacturing
So it was a government to over it was a group of people to watch a
and the
different
American
group of people to make sure that
thousands of
information got
dollars
society, right?
more.
You're describing Mike Pence as head of the task force. That's what you're describing right now.
That's also what the pandemic response team was.
Pew, a
And it was an
reputable
additional
research firm,
what Mike Pence actually
has
did
done
was
an
use the
analysis
National Security
that
Council
shows that
and all of the
we
heads
Yeah,
of
all
the
of our
CDC
that's actually that is.
and got them in the same fucking room.
that they hold
The
in
pandemic
dangerous
response
and
team was
unfair
another person that was
Hey,
not the
hey,
head of CDC, that was not the
the head
National
of the
Security
Chinese
Advisor or any of this
Communist
shit.
Party,
It
then
was
they
it
do
was like
Donald Trump,
advisors and
the
side
President of
people
the
that
United
were then
States,
supposed to take
Commander
that
in
information
the
and
United
hand it to
States.
those
This is
people,
where we
take it
are
back to
today
the pandemic response team,
because of
and then they make a decision and
failure
make
of
recommendations.
leadership.
It was honestly. It was. I feel like they had
Senator
to.
Harris,
The reason they
there's
did that, they had
changes been
extra
made
money to
in the
spend,
role
and
of
they like
Yep.
needed to get rid of it somehow.
leadership over the
So
past
they
few
just
years.
funded some kind
And
of
of course,
bullshit
times do change.
COVID response team that
What's your definition
literally had
of
nothing to do with the
constraints
CDC and did nothing.
I apologize. I've dragged you all into something longer again. We can keep watching here.
Okay.
But I will put a point in this.
and elsewhere? What is your definition of the role of American leadership in 2020?
So, you know, Joe is, I love talking with Joe about a lot of these issues.
No, you hate Joe.
Joe,
Do you think he's a
I
racist?
think he said it quite well. He says, you know, foreign policy, it might sound complicated, but really it's relationships. So just think about it as relationships. And
No,
so we
it's more
know
of an
this in our personal
ecosystem.
and professional relationships. You got to keep your word to your friends. Got to be loyal to your friends. People who've stood with you, got to stand with them.
Someone needs to read more
Got to know
Henry
who your
Kissinger.
adversaries are and keep them in check. But what we have seen with Donald Trump is that he has betrayed our friends and embraced dictators around the world. Let's take, for example, Russia.
Okay,
So,
what president
I
hasn't
serve
done
on the
that?
Intelligence Committee of the United
Putin
States
isn't a
Senate.
dictator.
Yeah, he
America's
is.
intelligence community.
I think
Oh, what?
Brazil and the Philippines are a better example.
No, I kind of like. Okay, hot
Bolsonaro is
take.
not let me
No,
phrase it.
I kind of like Bolsonaro. I think he's
Bolsonaro
necessary.
is not a dictator.
He's necessary, but he's not a dictator. He's
Okay, the
authoritarian.
fact that I'm not talking to you if you think Bolsonaro is necessary.
Putin over the
More of a. I told you that the other night, though. Remember?
I don't know.
Our friends at NATO. He has walked away from agreements. You can talk. Look at the Iran nuclear deal.
What benefits did the United States of America get from NATO? Name one. Name
We are
fucking
left-
one.
Okay, why do you want to?
Because they are
Oh,
building up.
I thought you were for NATO. I'm kind of.
Fuck no. You tell me there's a better way to design NATO.
Oh no, I agree. I agree with that.
Allies around the country, and because
think we
Holy
need
shit.
unilateral.
How do you not know anything about fucking foreign policy ever? What the fuck? How
No,
is
I said we need to. I said we need to restructure NATO. He wants to get rid of NATO.
It's about
You
relationship.
can rebuild it into something that
And the
actually
thing
works
that
better.
has always been part of
What
the
NATO
strength
does
of our
work.
nation
Name me
Well,
one
our
benefit that NATO
military
has given us.
has been that
Name
we
one.
keep our word. But Donald Trump doesn't understand that because he doesn't understand what it means to be honest.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Thank you,
I
Senator
think I've
Harris.
encouraged too much
Vice
talking.
President
Maybe a
Hinson,
bit.
chance to respond.
Well,
So
thank you. Well, President Trump kept his word when we moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, the capital of the state of Israel. When Joe Biden was vice president, they promised to do that, and they never did. We stood strong with our allies.
Did you just say when Joe Biden was president?
More to our common defense than ever before, thanks
That
to
is-
President Trump's leadership.
yes, he
Strengthened our
did. I
alliances
think.
across the Asia Pacific, and we've stood strong against those who would do us harm. You know, when President Trump came into office, ISIS had captured an area of the Middle East the size of Pennsylvania. But President Trump
As
unleashed
large
the
as
American
Scranton,
military,
Pennsylvania.
and our armed forces destroyed the ISIS caliphate and took down their leader al-Baghdadi without one American casualty.
That
Al-Baghdadi
sounds
was
like a fucking lie.
responsible for the death of thousands. But notably, America's hearts today are with the family of Kayla Mueller, her parents of which are here with us tonight in Salt Lake City. Today,
Mormonville.
2 of the ISIS killers responsible for Kayla Mueller's murder were brought to justice in the United States. Jihadi John was killed on the battlefield along with the
Oh, I
other.
just got a text from the Joe Biden
The
campaign.
reality is that
Joe Biden.
Joe
What?
Biden was vice
From
president.
the
We
Joe
had
Biden campaign.
saved Kayla Mueller.
Yeah. Somehow they got my
Breaks my heart
number.
to reflect on it, but the military came into the Oval Office, presented a plan. They said they knew where Kayla was. Baghdadi had held her for 18 months, abused her mercilessly before they killed her. But when Joe
Congratulations, you have proven that ISIS is bad.
and when armed forces finally went in,
ISIS
it was clear she'd
are
been there 2
Muslims.
days.
He's gonna be
earlier.
like saying that
And her
next.
family says with a heart that broke the heart of every American that if President Donald Trump had been president, they believe Kayla would be alive today.
Thank you, Vice
Look, we
President.
destroyed
I
the
don't
ISIS
like that
caliphate.
argument. That's trash.
And you
That
talk
was
about
just
the interim,
a minute and a
again,
half of virtue signaling
the
with no merit.
$1.8 billion.
And I believe that was incredibly disrespectful.
Thank you, Vice
of
President.
Yeah. No.
terrorism.
Did he
President
literally
Donald
just say
Trump got us out
Jihadi
of the
John?
Thank you,
deal,
Vice President Pence.
and-
Yes, he
and
said Jihadi John was
John
killed.
was traveling to Baghdad.
Thank you,
to do
Vice
harm
President
to
No, it would be
Americans. President Donald Trump took
Thank you,
him
Vice
out.
President Pence.
And America is safer, our allies are safer, and the American people know President Donald Trump will never
Thank you,
hesitate
Vice President
to take
Pence.
action.
I would like to give
Thank you.
Senator Harris a chance to
It would
respond,
actually
but
be,
not at such great length,
Jihadi
because, of course, there are
Juana,
other topics we want
or
But I
Juana,
would like it.
Juana,
Yes,
Thank you.
please go ahead.
John in Arabic,
First of all, to the Mueller family, I know about your daughter.
or
Case,
John.
and I'm
John.
so
No,
sorry.
John. I don't know how you
I'm
pronounce
so
it.
sorry. What happened to her is awful. And it
I don't
should be-
think Kamala cares either, though. Just
And I know Joe feels the same way. And
she
I
just
know
knows
that
how to.
President
She just
Obama
knows
feels
what to
the same
say.
This entire point's irrelevant.
way.
This
But you
back
mentioned
and forth
Soleimani.
between-
She should have just said we're not talking about this.
So after the strike on
You
Soleimani,
can't do that if you're going to look at the social way you have to communicate with the American people. If you throw in that many hot button phrases, it has to be addressed in one way or another.
Yeah, fair enough.
They suffered serious brain injuries, and do you know what Donald Trump dismissed them as? Headaches. And this
Yeah,
is about
he did do
pattern of
that.
Donald
That
Trump,
was.
where he has referred.
I mean, if you want to bring up the troops, you can
our
talk about every
military
single time Donald
and our
Trump has just called them
military
idiots
winners and
or
losers.
disparaged them
Donald Trump
or essentially just laughed at their
went to
expense.
Arlington Cemetery and stood above the graves of our fallen heroes and said, what's in it for them? Because of course, you know, he only thinks about what's in it for him. Let's take what he said about John McCain, a great American hero.
Who never met a war he
Donald
didn't
Trump
like.
says he doesn't deserve to be called a hero because he was a prisoner of war.
Okay, yeah, that was one of the worst.
What he said.
Yes,
That's
he
not
did.
what he said. What he said was he was not a hero of war because he was
and what they
captured.
care about and what they
The
don't
idea that
care
she
about.
presented.
Okay, yeah, that's what
Public
he said.
reporting that Russia had bounties on the heads of American
Okay, you are
soldiers.
you
And
are
know
right
what
then.
a bounty
Sorry.
is? It's somebody puts a price on your head and they will pay it if you are killed. And Donald Trump had talked at least 6 times to Vladimir Putin and never brought up the subject. Joe Biden would never do that.
Thank
Joe
you.
Biden would, but
Oh,
Joe
here we
Biden
go.
would
I hope
hold
Pence swerves
Russia
right into the
to account
Hunter Biden shit with
any
Greece.
threat
That'd be great.
to our nation's security or to
Yeah, I
our
think that
troops
Hunter
who
Biden's
are
kind of irrelevant to the debates
sacrificing their
themselves because that's more
lives
kind
for
of
the sake
talking
of
about
our democracy and
them
our
as a
safety.
Thank you,
person.
Senator Harris. This is
It
such
should
an important
just
issue,
be
but
about
we have
policy.
other important issues as well, and
Susan,
I
have
want to make
respond
sure
to
we
that.
have a chance
I really
to
have
talk
to
about.
respond to that.
I'm
Look, she has
15 seconds because
Well, I got to
we're
have
trying
more
to
than
keep.
that. Look,
Well, I'm sorry.
I gotta have more
had
than that.
more
Fuck
time than
off,
she
bitch.
had
the
so far.
slanders against President Donald Trump regarding
Oh,
men
he's
and
gonna
women
have
in
his
our armed forces are absurd.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Vice
My
President
son is
Pence.
a captain in the United
Yes.
States Marine Corps. My son-in-law is deployed in the United States Navy. I can assure all of you, with sons and daughters serving in our military, President Donald Trump not only respects but reveres all of those who serve in our armed forces, and any suggestion otherwise is ridiculous. Let
Thank
me
you,
also
Vice
say-
I
President.
disagree.
Are you
People
sure about that?
People
I
deserve to
didn't,
know.
Vice President
that-
Pence, I did not,
that you
excuse
can't
me,
deny.
Susan, the
I did
American
not
people
create
deserve
the
to know
rules for tonight.
Joe Biden.
Your
and Trump-
campaigns agreed to the rules for tonight's
I-
debate with the Commission on Presidential Debates. I'm here to enforce them, which involves moving from one topic to another, giving
God, that's
both-
refreshing.
both
You'd
of
love
you.
to see
This
it.
is what I'm trying very hard to
Go
do.
right ahead.
So I want to go ahead and move to the next topic, which is an important one, as the last topic was, and that is the Supreme Court. On Monday, the Senate Judiciary Committee is
There's
scheduled
only
to
30 minutes left in
open
this debate already.
nomination to the Supreme Court. Senator Harris, you'll be there as a member of the committee. Her confirmation would cement the court's conservative majority and make it likely
And
open to
wash
more
out.
abortion restrictions.
I'd
even
like to use this time to say fuck Clarence Thomas.
access
Clarence
to
Thomas sucks.
abortion would then be
Why does he suck?
He's a 90s era Democrat that never updated, and he has conflicting interests as his wife leads the pro-life movement and several
No,
organizations.
Clarence
What do you
Thomas
want
is a Republican.
Indiana to do? Would you want your home state?
Wait,
to
hang on.
ban
He was the Clinton judge, right? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
No, he was Bush 1.
Interrupt.
Well,
It
thank
was
you
like
for
the
the
last
question, but
couple.
I'll use
like
a little
the
bit of
last
my
couple
time to
months of,
respond to
Bush
that
one,
very important issue.
or like the last year or two.
The American people deserve to know Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian general, was responsible for the death of hundreds of American service members. When the opportunity came, we saw him headed to Baghdad to kill more Americans. President Trump didn't hesitate, and Qasem Soleimani is gone.
That was the most
Joe Biden
unelegant,
and
worst
Kamala
fucking
Harris
way to assassinate
take out
someone I have seen in a long time.
Soleimani.
It was like going back to like Kennedy's CIA. It was fascinating.
Explainable. Because history records that Joe Biden actually opposed the raid against Osama bin Laden. It's absolutely essential that we have a commander-in-chief who will not hesitate to act to protect
Dude,
American
Joe
lives,
Biden is going to be
protect
so
American
hawkish,
service
though,
members,
more
and
than
that's
Trump.
what you have in President Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's based.
With regard to the Supreme Court of the United States,
I still think Trump is too hawkish, especially against Russia.
Correct. That is correct.
Trump is the most anti-Russia president we've had since JFK.
She's a brilliant woman, and she will bring a lifetime of experience and a sizable American family to the Supreme Court of the United States. And our hope is, in the hearing next week, unlike Justice Kavanaugh received with
I do not believe that we should appoint a Supreme Court judge who wants to create a, quote, divine empire on earth.
She's not even that. She's
we saw before.
not like how they. Okay, so I don't particularly like her, but they could have gone. But like the other two decisions were way worse than her, especially the guy.
Don't. My argument isn't that one is better. My argument is that every single judge they've had on their docket is very bad, and very bad for my life specifically. So I'll admit my own bias here.
Because you remember the Catholic Knights of Columbus.
But
just because the Knights of Columbus holds pro-life views and
thank you.
I have several friends who are in the Knights
of
of
hearing
Columbus.
takes place,
and Kamala Harris did come up with a giant conspiracy theory about them that was completely egregious. They're basically just the Knights of Columbus are just the Catholic Masons.
The senator from and former Attorney General of California. So let me ask you a parallel question to the one I posed to the Vice President.
it's Boy Scouts, but with more dads that beat their kids.
What would you want California to do? Would you want your home state to enact no restrictions on access to abortion? And you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Thank you, Susan. First of all, Joe Biden and
I think that what we need to do, get the government out of the issue of abortion entirely. That means get rid of abortion restrictions, but also defund Planned Parenthood. That's the only logical way to do it. That's the only consistent way.
You want to defund Planned Parenthood, even though it is literally everyone just wants to consider it the abortion factory, and that's not what it is.
I know it's only 3%. Only 3% of Planned Parenthood goes towards abortion, but cut off 3% of the spending that we send to them, not the entire thing.
Let me take this one. I don't give a shit
before
if it's
when this conversation has come up, it's been about election
year
or election
time. The fact that tax dollars goes to it at all is a problem.
An election.
It is kind of immoral to those people who do those people who
I would like to talk
abortion.
about this when we have time and a debate's not going on, if that is okay. Thank you.
American people are. Let the American people fill that seat in the White House, and then we'll fill that seat on the United States Supreme Court. And to your point, Susan, the issues before us couldn't be more serious. There's the issue of choice, and I will always fight for a woman's right to make a decision about her own body. It should be her decision and not that of Donald Trump and the Vice President, Michael Pence. But let's also look at what else is before the court. It's the Affordable Care Act. Like, literally in the midst of a public health pandemic, when over 210,000 people have died and 7 million people probably have what will be in the future considered a pre-existing condition because you contracted the virus. Donald Trump is in court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I said it before, and it bears repeating.
I actually don't think he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. That's a conspiracy theory for another day.
If they win for people with pre-existing conditions, this means that over 20 million people will lose your coverage. It means that if you're under the age of 26, you can't stay on your parents' coverage anymore. And here's the thing. The contrast couldn't be more clear. They're trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Joe Biden is saying, let's expand coverage. Let's give you a choice of a public option or private coverage. Let's bring down premiums.
Thank you, Senator
Let's
Harris.
lower Medicare eligibility to 60.
Thank you, Senator.
That's true leadership.
You know,
no, raise the retirement age. Social Security is going to be bankrupt by the time we're like 40. We need to raise the age, or else Social Security's gone.
But you do have this court case that you are
supporting,
your administration supporting,
or privatize, partially privatize it, like we did with the VA.
The President Trump says that he's going to protect people with pre-existing conditions, but he has not explained how
NIT actually fixes literally all of the entitlement program problems that we have.
When they were passing
No, I'm actually a big proponent of the NIT.
Protect Americans with pre-existing conditions to have access to affordable insurance if the Affordable Care Act is struck down.
Well, thank you, Susan. But let me just say, addressing your very first question, I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. I'm pro-life. I don't apologize for it. And this is another one of those cases where there's such a dramatic contrast. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth.
That is incorrect.
Increased funding to
that is incorrect. That is incorrect. Like the whole late term abortion thing, that rarely happens. And when
of
it
the United
does,
States, but
it is like
we'll continue.
it
to
happens
stay strong
like
for the
0.1% of the time,
When you
and then
speak
like
about
half of
the
that
Supreme
time it's
Court, though,
illegal.
I think the American people really
Like it's
deserve an
already
answer,
not
Senator
allowed.
Harris.
Yeah.
Are you and Joe Biden going to pack the court if Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed?
That's a good
I
question.
mean, there have been 29 vacancies on the Supreme Court during presidential election years, from George Washington to Barack Obama. Presidents have nominated in all 20.
I don't believe it's a hot take that the Supreme Court needs to be reformatted.
Yeah, I had an entire episode on that if you want to watch it, and everybody thought my idea was like amazing. Not gonna lie.
Oh, that's great. Keep stroking your dick, buddy.
By the rules, you're going to change the rules. Now, you've refused to answer
I am.
the
Don't
question.
worry.
Joe Biden has refused to
Can
answer
I
the
watch
question.
you stroke your dick,
I think the
politicrat?
American people would really like to know.
No,
if Judge
it's only.
Amy Coney
I'm gonna put it
Gentlemen, we
on-
can watch once they're done.
You can watch it on my only.
debate.
You can watch it on my
if somehow
OnlyFans.
you win this election,
Oh, okay, bet.
pack the Supreme Court to get your way.
So tired.
I'm so glad we went through a little history lesson. Let's do that a little more. In 1864.
Well, I'd like you to answer the
No,
question.
Mr.
Yes,
Vice President, I'm
please,
speaking.
very
I'm
fast.
speaking.
What a catty
In
bitch.
1864, one of the, I think, political heroes, certainly of the president, I assume if
Don't
you
say Abe
also,
Lincoln.
Mr. Vice President, is Abraham Lincoln.
Oh God, Abraham Lincoln wasn't even that
was
great
up
of a
for
president.
re-election.
He was
And it
pretty base.
27 days before the election.
Am I the only one here who thinks
And
Abraham Lincoln's
a seat
overrated?
became open on the United States Supreme
Uh,
He wasn't. He wasn't.
Abraham Lincoln's party was in charge not only of the White House, but the Senate.
You sound like a guy that
Honest
hates a
Abe
band because it went mainstream.
Said it's not the right thing to
Who,
do.
me or
The
politicrat?
American
Me.
Politicrat.
people deserve to make the decision
Yeah, I can
about
see
who will be
that.
the next
It was
president of the
habeas.
United
It's habeas corpus mostly.
And then that
because he
person
suspended it.
can select who will serve for a lifetime on the highest court.
Who's habeas
in our
corpus?
land.
Is that something Link
And
wants
so
to
Joe
fuck?
and I are
The
very
habeas
The
corpus is
American
the ability
people are
to
voting
hold
right
somebody
now,
indefinitely.
and it should be their
If
decision
you was suspended, you have the ability
about
to
who will
hold somebody
serve
indefinitely
on
in jail
this most
without charging them.
important body.
I was
Right.
making a joke.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And the
Senator
American
Harris.
people, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once
Come on,
again gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a
I'm
non-answer.
trying to answer you
The
now.
American people deserve a straight answer. And if you haven't figured it
Not
out,
a
what
gay
the straight
answer.
Is they are going to pack the Supreme
Yeah,
Court
Mike Pence doesn't
if
like
they somehow
those.
win this election.
Th-
Men and
Oh,
women,
imagine
I
how
gotta tell you, people
poetic and
across this
beautiful
country,
it would have
if you
been
cherish
if
our
it was
Supreme
Pence and
Court, if you
Buttigieg.
cherish the separation of powers, you need to
Oh, that would
reject
have been fucking hilarious.
Biden-Harris ticket. Come November the 3rd, re-elect President Donald
Good old
Trump.
electric
You'll stand
fence
by that
Pence.
separation of powers in a 9-seat Supreme Court.
Yeah,
Thank
let's
you.
talk about packing the court then. Let's talk about the
Please.
fact. Yeah, I'm about to.
Oh, is she gonna bring up all the judges that Trump like
So-
rushed through?
The Trump-Pence administration has been, because I sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Susan, as you mentioned, and I've witnessed
That'd be a good
the
flip.
appointments for lifetime appointments to the federal courts, district courts, courts of
Sure.
appeal.
This is actually a really good way to
Purely
counterattack this.
ideological, people who have been reviewed by legal professional organizations and found to have been not competent are substandard. And do you know that of the
Which
50
organizations?
people who President Trump appointed to the Court of Appeals for lifetime appointments, not one is black? This is what they've been
Fuck
doing. You
off.
want to talk about packing a court? Let's have that discussion.
All right,
Don't
thank
try to
you.
drag
Thank you,
Senator Reese
Senator.
into
Let's go on and talk about the issue of racial justice.
I just want the record.
Oh
reflect
no,
she never
please,
answered
no.
Can you
You
like?
know,
I
maybe
wish this
the
were there
next
was like a
debate,
fast
Joe Biden
forward,
will
but
answer the
we
question,
just
but I think
jump
the
over
American
this
people know the
section.
answer.
Thank you, Vice
You
President.
fucking mute it. Here we go. Here's what we're gonna have.
In
a
March,
conversation with
Breonna
this
Taylor, a 26-year-old emergency
Oh, hold
room
on.
technician
We'll
in
talk about this
Louisville, was
in a
shot
second.
and killed after police officers executing a search warrant in a narcotics investigation broke into her apartment.
Yeah, they're murderers.
The police said they
Thank
identified
you.
themselves. Taylor's boyfriend said he didn't hear them do that. He used a gun registered to him to fire a shot.
Yeah, cops
which
can say
wounded an
anything,
officer.
and then they'll be
The
believed.
officers then fired
Oh,
more than 20
criminals
rounds
do,
into the
so.
apartment. They say they were acting in self-defense. None of them have been indicted in connection
Because
with her
no,
death.
because fucking
Senator Harris, in the case
what's
of
his
Breonna
name?
Taylor,
Kyle Rittenhouse was
justice
it was
done?
in
you have
self-defense.
2 minutes.
Yes.
I don't believe so. And I've talked with Brianna's mother.
He had every
Tamika
right to do
Palmer,
what he did. I'm
and
sorry.
her family.
No, 100%.
And her
I'm
family
sorry, what?
thinks that she was a
Talking about
beautiful
Kyle
woman.
Rittenhouse, about
She
how he had
as
every
her
right
life
to do
goal
what he did. It
become
was
a
in
nurse, and she
self-defense.
wanted
The
to become
footage
a
How he had
showed.
every right to drive 2 states over to get into a
Yeah.
fight?
out
Yes.
on the
No, it
street.
was only
She
actually he
said,
worked on that side of the state. It
Become a
was
nurse
one
and
state
stay
over.
violent.
No,
And her
literally,
life
like
taken
politically, you're taking this wrong.
unjustifiably and
Yes, he had every
tragically
right to do what he did.
violently.
drive 2 states
And it just,
over.
it brings me.
No, but the thing is, he shouldn't have. It was the thing that he
the 8
should
minutes and
be
46
charged
seconds
for
that
is
America
having a gun at the age
witnessed.
of 17. That's the only thing he should be
During
charged
which-
for.
No, possession of that
American
firearm
man
is not illegal. It's a purchase.
Was tortured.
Is it not?
And
It should
killed
be illegal for that age.
under the knee
Possession is not illegal. It's
of
the
an
purchase.
armed, uniformed police officer.
Okay, I'll have to look more into that part.
And
But
people around our country.
the shooting bit though,
every
that what he
race,
was morally in the right.
Every age.
Yes.
I'd like to say, just before we get into this, and we'll talk about it later, I really object to y'all's views on Rittenhouse.
Shoulder to
But
shoulder,
that's neither here nor there at the moment.
fighting
I'd be more than happy to get into that conversation.
for us to finally achieve that ideal of equal justice under law. And I was
Just
a
like I
part of
think
those
you should be allowed to
peaceful
shoot
protests.
cops who are coming at you too.
And
I don't think it
believe
matters.
strongly that
There's a difference between
strongly
arguing for general
people
anarchy and general reform to help the
promote
public.
fight for the values that we hold dear, including the fight to achieve our ideal.
No, I'm saying like
And
if a
that's why
cop
Joe Biden and I have
attacks
said
me
on this
and has
subject,
no reason to,
look, and I'm a former
I have every right
prosecutor.
to
I know what I'm
defend
talking
myself
about.
against him
That
because
is
And
he's
I'm
he's
saying that merely
We need
passing the
reform
law to
of our
kill a
policing
cop if they
mechanism,
do that
which is
does
why
not
we
fix any of the issues in place.
ban chokeholds and carotid holds. George Floyd
It doesn't fix anything.
require a national registry for police officers who break the law.
okay.
We
Yep.
will,
That I
on the
agree with.
criminal justice reform, get rid of private prisons and cash
Yeah.
bail, and
I
we
also
will
agree with that.
decriminalize marijuana, and
Thank
we
you,
will
Senator Harris.
we will
Yep.
expunge the
Okay,
records of
Kamal,
those who
this-
have
these
been
are the issues
convicted
Kamal is
of
legitimately
marijuana.
good on.
This is
Thank
the
you,
give her
time
that.
for leadership on a tragic issue
Senator Harris,
of
your time is
unarmed
up.
Black people in America. who have
Thank you,
been killed.
Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me pose the same question to you. In the case of Breonna Taylor, was justice done? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
He doesn't know how to respond.
This is also the first time he hasn't said thank you.
From American life. And the family of Breonna Taylor has our sympathies.
But not our justice system.
The only senator, Republican senator, who actually was like outraged by the Breonna Taylor decision, when all the Republicans just didn't care, the only one who spoke up was Rand Paul.
Got it wrong, but you're entitled to your opinion, Senator. I think
He was the one who tried to who
with regard
created
to
the Breonna
George
Taylor
Floyd,
Act
there's no
to end
excuse for
no-knock
what happened to
warrants.
George Floyd.
With respect,
George
and
Floyd
while
was-
that is a good outcome, Ron
but
Paul can
there's
fuck
no
himself.
excuse.
Sorry, Rand
No,
Paul can fuck himself.
Yeah, Rand Paul,
Follow.
his dad needs to go slap him.
It really is astonishing.
Rand Paul is a fascist enabler. Changed my mind.
I won't. You're right.
Weeks ago, I stood at what used to be her salon, was burned to the ground by
Yeah,
rioters.
he's not
and
his
looters.
father's son. Like his father,
And Florida
greatest
is still trying
greatest
to put her life back
politician of my
together.
lifetime, hands down.
And I must tell you, this
Is that including the anti-Semitic shit?
that you hear
What?
consistently.
I thought we had that conversation already.
from Joe Biden.
I know. It's just fun to bring up.
Yeah, I know.
That,
No, they were
America's
mostly smearing him because
systemically
because
racist.
he
You
was doing.
almost just said because he's anti-Semitic.
No, I said anti. I was about to say no. I was about to say
Bias.
anti-Israel. Then I stopped myself and I said
is
because he was very
very
critical of Israel.
to the men
So
and women
I
who
think he
serve
could
in
have,
law enforcement.
but
I'm
not
not
as much as
one
Jeremy
who
Corbyn
puts
because
on the
Jeremy
uniform
Corbyn is an
and
open
goes every
anti-Semite.
day.
Is there a
President-
bug on his hair right now?
And with you.
No, it's just shiny.
It is
Yes.
remarkable that
Nope, that's a fly that's
Tim
landed on his head.
Scott tried to pass a
Shit.
police
Somebody take a.
reform
How do
bill,
I take a picture? Oh,
brought together a group of Republicans and
It's fine.
Democrats.
It's fine. There'll be
Harris
images all over his
yeah,
wall.
there it is.
and walked out of the room.
It's
Windows
gotta wait.
key
The
W.
internet will
Windows
have that.
key W.
Tim Scott's bill on the
Democrat,
Senate
Windows
floor
key W right now.
New accountability, new
Windows what?
resources.
Windows
We
key
don't need
W.
to choose
That's how you take a
between
screenshot.
supporting law enforcement, improving public safety, and supporting our African American
Thank you,
neighbors
Vice
and all of our minorities. Under President
QW?
Trump's leadership,
Thank you,
we'll
Vice President.
always stand with law
Windows QW.
enforcement and we'll
W.
do
Yes. Windows key W.
Time
improve
is
the
up.
lives of African Americans.
Thank you, Vice
Record
President.
unemployment,
I couldn't do that. I have no idea.
record
Vice
investments in
President, your time
education,
is
and we'll
up.
You
fight
don't
for
have to worry,
school
it'll be
choice for
all
all
over
of
the fucking
Thank you,
Americans.
Vice
I'd
President.
like to respond.
Senator Harris.
I will not sit here and be lectured by the vice president on what it means to enforce the laws of our country. I am the only one on this stage who has personally prosecuted everything from child
you're a
sexual
cop.
assault to homicide.
Yeah, and then but
I'm
no,
the
but to be
only one
fair,
on
she
this
was
stage
a
who's
very
taken
she was
advantage
bad. She was corrupt as
taking
hell.
advantage of America's
let-
homeowners.
let
I'm the only
Pence
one on this
beat
stage
the ever living
who
shit out of her with
prosecuted
this.
for-profit colleges for taking
This is going to
advantage
be
of our
fucking great.
veterans.
She brought her record into this.
And the reality of this
Yeah,
is
that's what
that
I want.
we are talking about an election in 27 days, where last week the
Honestly,
President
they
of the
both
United
suck.
States took a
Like,
debate stage in front
at
of 70
debating.
million Americans and refused to condemn white supremacists.
Not true.
And
Not true.
it
Yeah, that's not
wasn't
true.
like he didn't have a chance.
It isn't. It
He
isn't.
didn't do it, and
but-
then he doubled down. And then he said, when pressed, stand back, stand by.
I think he may have been I think
this
he
is
may
a
have
part
misspoke
of a
there because the thing
pattern
is he's in cognitive
of
decline,
Donald
just like Joe
Trump's.
Biden.
I would rather people only ever want to bring Donald Trump's decline when they want to deny something shitty he said that's very purposely like targeted.
No, the thing is, I think that they both are. Like I've been pretty consistent on Donald Trump.
That's not what I'm saying. It's only ever brought up when it's like he says something like stand by for the Proud Boys or whatever. And I feel like
anti-Semitic.
it's if you're gonna say shit, it can't be used on unequal terms in that way.
There were fine people on both sides. This is who we have as the President of the United States. And America, you deserve better. Joe Biden will be a
Simping for the Confederacy makes you a bad person.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I'm not talking about
recognizes
simping
the
for the
beauty in our
Confederacy. What I'm talking
diversity
about
and the fact that we
there
all have
were
so much
good
more in
people
common
who
than
were
what
not
separates us.
idiots,
Vice President Pence, let me give
fucking
you a
racist
minute
pieces
to
of shit
respond.
that were
Thank you,
also in the
Susan. I
Unite the Right
appreciate
route.
that very much.
Maybe people who
That's
didn't know.
contradiction.
Maybe a couple people who didn't know what it actually was because they saw you just go right.
Is that you selectively?
But
edit
that
just
was like a
Senator
small
Harris
number
did.
of people. So
Comments that President Trump and I and others.
Destruction
on our side
of
the aisle made.
public monuments is
I mean,
is a
Senator
fucking
Harris conveniently.
Public
avoided
monuments are overrated. Fuck 'em.
comments about people
I kind of
on
agree.
either
They are
side
the sign of
debate
a
over
civilization
monuments.
in decline.
He
But I
condemned
still don't think
the
destroying them
KKK,
is okay.
neo-Nazis and white supremacists.
But
and
let's
he's done
watch.
so
Let's finish this.
repeatedly. You're concerned that he doesn't condemn neo-Nazis.
Well, Trump does still say
President
some
Trump has
racist
Jewish
shit,
grandchildren.
but most of it is just
His
is
daughter
towards
and
like
son-in-law are Jewish.
is towards
This is
Mexicans.
a
But
president
Donald
who
Trump is most certainly not an anti-Semite.
Respects
Though.
and cherishes
That's
all of the Americans.
They really missed a chance to not bring up the fact that he didn't issue really a single statement on the newest wave of California wildfires.
When you were DA, in
Isn't that
San
why it was so
Francisco,
cold
when you left office,
that one night?
Yes, because of smoke in Virginia.
19 times more likely to be prosecuted for minor.
The one tweet he put out in the time frame was to assure the public that Kim Jong-un was okay.
California,
Thank you,
you
Vice President.
increased the
What a
the
dumbass.
disproportionate incarceration of
Thank you.
blacks in California.
Yes,
You did
that is
nothing
a
on
true
criminal
statement.
justice reform
Yes.
in California. You didn't lift a
That's-
finger
thank
to
you.
pass the first step back on Capitol Hill. I mean,
Yep.
the reality is
Yep.
your record
Thank
speaks
you,
for
Vice
itself.
President
President
Pence.
Trump and I have fought for criminal justice.
Trump, that is
Thank you,
one
Vice
thing Trump
President.
has been
fought
good
for
on,
education,
criminal
choice,
justice
and
reform, but
opportunities
not
for
because he
African
actually
Americans
believes in
all
it,
of our
but
Thank you,
because he
sir.
wants the
And we'll
black,
do it for
he's
so
trying
long.
to find a way to get the
There is
black
no
vote.
more important
But at the end of the day,
issue,
does that
final
actually
issue
matter?
that we're
Like
gonna
if
talk
he
about
actually
tonight,
has a
and that
reason
is
to
the
do it,
issue
then
of the election
But
itself.
I mean, yeah,
Please
I'm
back
just
my
saying though that
I
he
would
did
like the
kind of like
Let me
kind
give
of
you
like
30
LBJ,
seconds
who was a
because
massive
because we're
racist.
running out of time.
That's why he
appreciate
did the Civil Rights Act because he wanted to get the vote.
First of all, having served as the Attorney General of the state of California,
That
the
should
work
not be a
that
badge
I
of honor.
did is a model of what our nation needs to do, and we will be able to do under a Joe Biden presidency.
then why hasn't California passed its own
Our
version
agenda includes what this administration has failed to do.
healthcare?
It will be about not only instituting a ban on chokeholds and carotid holes.
Thank you.
Not only,
Thank you, Senator
I would
Harris.
like to go through,
These are points that you made earlier in the hour, and I want to talk about the election itself before we have to.
but I want to talk about the connection between what Joe and I will do and my record, which includes, I was the first statewide officer to institute a
Record is
requirement
fucking
that
garbage.
my agents would wear body cameras and keep them on full time. We were the
Fair.
first to initiate a requirement that there would be a training for law enforcement on implicit bias because yes, Joe Biden and I recognize that implicit bias does exist, Mr.
No, it
Vice
doesn't.
President,
It's garbage.
contrary to
It's
what
trash.
you may believe. We did the work of instituting reforms that were
Based
about
on
investing in
pseudoscience.
reentry. This is the work that we have done and the work we will do going forward. And again, I will not be lectured by the Vice President on our record of what we have done in terms of law enforcement and keeping our communities
Because your
safe
record's
and a
fucking
commitment to
garbage.
reforming the criminal justice system of America.
Thank you, Senator Harris. And I'd like to pose I'd like you to respond first to the question on our final topic, the election itself. President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after the election.
I think he's
If your
trolling
ticket
when he
wins,
says that. He's trying to
and
mess with
President
them.
Trump refuses to
He's
accept
trying to mess
a
with the
peaceful
Democrat because he's
transfer of power, what
a troll and a
steps would you
charlatan.
and Vice President Biden then take? What would happen next? You have 2 minutes.
So I'll tell you, Joe and I are, I think, particularly proud of the coalition that we've built around our campaign. We probably have one of the broadest coalitions of folks that you've ever seen in a presidential race. Of course, we have the support of Democrats.
It isn't because they like Biden. It's just because nobody likes Trump, except for a vocal minority.
7 members of President George W. Bush's cabinet are supporting our ticket. We have the support of
The managerial elite.
Colin Powell.
But Trump's also supported by the managerial elite. So
over 500 generals, retired generals, and former national security experts and advisors are supporting our campaign. And I believe they are doing that because they know that Joe
I prefer to call them Praetorians.
Deep-seated.
No, I invite the criticism because I can
for the
actually
integrity
defend what
of our
is meant by
democracy
deep
and to
state.
bring integrity
I
back.
am one of those.
It's
people
the
that's
deep
not-
state is not what
we
Trump
believe
says
in
the
the
deep
American
state is,
people.
or what the
We believe in
Democrats.
our
But the Democrats
democracy.
deny
And
its
here's what I'd like to
existence.
say to
But
everybody.
it is a thing. It is
Vote.
definitely an
So
apparatus.
the easiest way for me to
early.
describe
Hey,
it.
we can talk about that on another stream
You
sometime.
can also go to joebiden.com. We have it within our power in these
And
next
check out my
27 days
OnlyFans.
to make the decision about what will be
If only
the course
Kamala
of
Harris
our
had an
country for the next 4 years. And it is
I wouldn't
within
vote
our
for her.
power, and if we use our vote and we use our voice, we will win. And we will not let anyone subvert our democracy.
No,
with what Donald
you just
Trump
want to
has been
win.
doing,
You do
as
not
he did
care
on the
about
debate
democracy.
stage last week, when again in front of 70 million people, he openly attempted to suppress the vote. Joe Biden, on the other hand, on that same debate stage, because clearly Donald
Speaking of
Trump
which, I need to go. I never voted a second time yet. I should probably get on that tomorrow.
Said, hey,
Oh, you mean when you wrote in Jimmy Carter? I'm still mad at you for that.
Vote early, vote
Thank
often.
you, Senator. Vice President Pence, President Trump has several times refused to commit himself.
Hey, I voted
to a
Democrat.
peaceful
Vote blue no
transfer
matter who, right?
after the election. If Vice President Biden is
Jimmy
declared
Carter's
the winner
blue.
and President
I did
Trump
exactly what they
refuses
told
to
me to.
accept a peaceful transfer of power,
I can rhyme like
what
Dr.
would be your
Seuss.
role and
I
responsibility?
want to be respectful to you,
What would you?
but know that I was disappointed.
Yeah, no, I believe you.
Well, Susan,
I believe
first
you
and
were
foremost, I
disappointed.
think we're
But
gonna
the
win
thing
this
is,
election.
I care more about
Because
local
while,
elections
Joe
anyway.
Biden and Kamala Harris
Like I
rallied
voted
the
for Warner,
establishment
and
in
I voted
Washington,
Democrats
D.C.,
for
an
city
establishment
council.
Joe Biden's been a part of for
I
46
understand,
President Donald Trump
but I refer to my previous statement.
movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. And I have every confidence that those same Americans that delivered that historic victory in 2016, they see this president's record where we rebuild our military. We revived our economy through tax cuts and rolling back regulation, fighting for fair trade.
Fair trade. The only fair trade is free trade.
Conservatives to our federal courts at every level. And we stood with the men and women of law enforcement every single day. And I think that movement of Americans has only grown.
Trump is probably the worst president we've ever had on
When
trade.
you talk about accepting the outcome of the election,
Unironically, yeah.
I must tell you, Senator, your party has spent the last 3.5 years trying to overturn the results of the last election.
Yeah, protectionism is basically like young Earth creationism of economics. Wait, no, that's socialism.
Yeah, that's socialism.
But no, but protectionism is like
to the FBI documenting that
it's still pseudo-economic. Like it doesn't.
It's like climate change denial when it comes to economics.
Yeah.
What you put
I think that's a better comparison.
Yeah.
For the better part of
whereas socialism is like young Earth creationism.
Until it was found that there was no obstruction, no collusion, case closed. And then Senator Harris, you and your colleagues in the Congress tried to impeach the President of the United States over a phone call. And now Hillary Clinton has actually said to Joe Biden that in her words, under no circumstances should he concede the election. So let me just say, I think we're going to win this election. President Trump and I are fighting every day in courthouses to prevent Joe Biden and Kamala Harris from changing the rules and creating this universal mail-in voting that will create a massive opportunity for voter fraud.
Oh, fuck off.
Their election, we know we're going to have confidence in it. And I believe in all my heart that President Donald Trump's going to be reelected for 4 more years.
You know, I've I've written all the questions that I've asked tonight, but for the final question of the debate, I'd like to read a question that someone else wrote. The Utah Debate Commission asked students in the state to write essays about what they would like to ask you. And I want to close tonight's debate with the question posed by Brecklin Brown. She's an 8th grader at Springville Junior High in Springville, Utah. And here's what she wrote, quote, "When I watch the news, all I see is arguing between Democrats and Republicans.
Yes.
When I watch the news, all I see is citizen fighting against citizen. When I watch the news, all I see are two candidates from opposing parties trying to tear each other down. If our leaders can't get along, how are the citizens supposed to get along?" And then she added, "Your examples could make all the difference to bring us together," end quote. So to each of you in turn, I'd like you to take 1 minute and respond to Brecklin. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute.
Brecklin, it's a wonderful question. And let me just commend you for taking an interest in public life. I started following the news when I was very young. And in America, we believe in a free and open exchange of debate. And we celebrate that. And it's how we've created literally the freest and most
Look how
prosperous
nice he's trying to pretend to
history
be.
of the world.
He can't even muster a full smile.
No, he can't. They're both very disingenuous, but in very, very different ways.
News networks is synonymous with the American.
Every time he talks, I just see a PragerU ad.
Yes, this is PragerU.
The late justice who we just lost.
The right is always right. So maybe we should start calling the left wrong. This is Dennis Prager.
Silence oil.
Wants to take away your penis.
The left wants to take away your penis.
The right wants to give you a nice small.
The left wants to kill God.
On this stage tonight,
we want to fuck God. We love God so much.
They bring someone on, they'd be like, "Hello, I make $27,000 a year. And what if I told you my suffering made me want to be better?
I'll tell you that
Pain is good."
We're going to work every day to have government as good as our people. And the American people, each and every day, love a good debate.
Yes and no, but not in the way they say it is.
Always come together and are always there for one another.
Thank you.
In times of need, and we've especially learned that.
Thank you,
through
Mr.
the
Vice President.
difficulties of this year.
Senator Harris, what would you say to Brecklin?
First of all, I love hearing from our young leaders. And when I hear her words, when I hear your words,
what if Brecklin's a drooling
I
retard?
know our future is bright because
just throwing that out
it is
there.
that perspective on who
Or communist.
Yeah, or a communist, right?
Bruh. Come on, guys.
That brings me to Joe. Joe Biden. One of the reasons that Joe decided to run for president is after Charlottesville, which we talked about earlier. It so troubled him.
I actually don't believe. I feel like he waited. He didn't decide till the end.
And division.
I don't even think he really wanted to run.
What propelled Joe to run for president was to see that over the course of the last 4 years, what Brecklin described has been happening. Joe has a long-standing reputation of working across the aisle.
Don't pin this on.
Working in a bipartisan way.
Yes, well, he does. He is he was very bipartisan.
Joe Biden has.
He actually has more of a pro-life record than Trump, which is funny.
Fighting for their dignity.
Who, Biden?
I mean, you have to know Joe's story to know that Joe has known pain.
When he was in the
He's
Senate,
known suffering.
and Trump hasn't done anything except virtue signal. I just find it
Brecklin, when you think about the future, I do believe the future is bright. And it will be because of your leadership. And it will be because we fight for each person's voice through their vote. And we get engaged in this election because you have the ability through your work and through eventually your vote to determine the future of our country and what its leadership looks like.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Thank you, Vice President Pence. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We want to thank also the University of Utah for its hospitality, and most of all, our thanks to all the Americans who watched this debate tonight. Again, our best wishes for a quick recovery to President Trump, the First Lady, and everyone who is battling COVID-19. The second presidential debate is next week on October 15th, a town hall style debate in Miami. We hope you'll join us.
But hopefully it goes underwater. during the debate. Let's start polluting as much. Let's all just start polluting more than we ever had just for the next week straight. Maybe Florida will sink. Is that her husband, I'm guessing?
Yeah, that's her husband. Put on your fucking mask, Michael.
It's called virtue signaling. And they're virtue signaling to the anti-maskers. Okay, so guys, I have a question for all of you.
Sure.
Do you think that Karen Pence is an actual Karen in real life?
I refer back to my statement at the beginning of this.
She's
Probably not.
Karen.
I feel like she's nicer than her husband. She has to balance him out somewhat.
That's not a high standard to meet.
That is true. But yeah,
Mike Pence is the neighbor that reports you to the HOA because your trash can was out one day after trash day.
Yes, that is exactly what Mike Pence is. I 100% agree.
Well, if we're going to use that analogy, to be fair, you were presented with a copy of the HOA agreement, man, and it clearly states that.
No, but for a little tiny dumb thing, getting a new kind of doorknob.
Oh well, if the thing is, you make a choice to go into an HOA, man. And they have extremely.
No, you fucking don't. Have you tried to browse houses that don't have an HOA agreement? Are you fucking stupid?
I own a house that is not part of a homeowners association.
Where do you live?
Yes, in Iowa.
Okay, that explains it.
Yeah.
Okay, excuse me. It's fucking impossible to get that in this state.
Yeah, that is. Except if you live in Carroll County, aka Meth County, which is
Okay, let me explain. You either have an HOA or you don't have public utilities.
Okay.
So
Wait, that is what I was.
Where
I grew up, we didn't have it. I didn't live in an HOA. We did just fine.
I'm not saying it's essential. In fact, I hate HOAs. Everyone I know in one hates them. I don't think they should be a thing.
Speaking of homeowners associations, this is my hot take. Hoppieism is just homeowners associations and steroids.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
But I like some of the Hoppien ideas though.
That's bullshit, and the fact that you have to pay extra fines for the fact that you want to own a condo, which is normally a cheaper form of housing, is also bullshit.
Chicago liberal doesn't like it when I say that though.
No, I figure. Well, didn't he just become a Hoppien last week?
No, he's been a Hoppien since
anarcho-capitalists are dumb motherfuckers anyway. So
he became. I think he started to become a Hoppien in June.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
But yeah. So Anyways,
NATO's.
Now give your individual thoughts on the debates. We're going to start with Alkazei.
It was pretty boring, but I'd say Kamala did a better job here, especially when she talked about trade and foreign policy.
Policy-wise, no, honestly, I'm not going to give either of them any thumbs up or thumbs down on foreign policy because I sincerely think that we are going to get more or less the same thing with either. And we notice how little time they spent talking about foreign policy. They were both very vague and wishy-washy and just using all of these terms like international cooperation, friendship.
If I can hop on that really quick, my personal opinion right now is at this moment in America, foreign policy in this election is a luxury to focus on at the moment.
I can sort of agree, but sort of not.
I'm not saying it's not. I need to clarify. I'm by no means saying it's not important and it's not an essential part of running the country. I merely say at the time, for the American public and for your demographics you're trying to poll, it is not what the majority of people want to hear about or focus on. It's likely why it was glazed over.
Foreign policy is one of my most important issues, though. So.
No, I agree. I agree. You can ask the politicrat about that. That's
yeah,
no.
Yeah. He and I he and I are both offshore balancers, so
I go where the wind takes me, but I try not to be a dumbass.
Also, I'm a non-interventionist, but I'm not necessarily an anti-imperialist. Anyway, okay, so Alkazei, continue. Are you done with what you're saying, Alkazei?
Sorry.
Other than that, I think Kamala did. I think she overall won the debate.
Okay.
But I don't think Mike Pence did terrible.
If we're going solely off debate performance, I believe I stand by my original belief that Kamala Harris holds an edge in general in whoever she debates due to her background as an attorney and what she's had to do. Whether or not I agree with her policies, she does hold a substantial edge over Mike Pence in the debate stage. Though his subdued demeanor was definitely a curveball that I believe, in terms of strategy, was the right thing to do at this time. He's trying to be the comfortable, like, grandpa from Indiana, basically.
Yep.
The kind old, yeah.
I do not believe he has the chops or the public recognition to back it up at the moment. Merely because even when he's not used to limelight, and that is his biggest disadvantage. He's a very behind the scenes. He's behind the scenes kind of guy. So I would say Kamala took this. Yeah.
Okay. And Damnation.
Oh, me personally, when I look at it, it's like, yeah, they both did fine. Based upon performance, probably give it a little bit of edge to Kamala Harris in this one. The one thing I want to highlight is the statement that Kamala Harris made about Joe Biden will not ban fracking, right? As I said during the conversation, put that on the fucking wall, right? Put it over here on the wall and circle that with a big red fucking X that says, if Biden flips on that one, you burn his ass, right? Because you fucking, like his fucking vice president said it. His vice president choice said it. So, yeah. That's the point that I took away from it. The rest of it, it's like it's general political hackery for a good chunk of it. There were some disingenuous points made on Mike Pence's side. There were some disingenuous points on Kamala Harris's.
I think that entire back and forth about the woman that was kidnapped was genuinely offensive to everybody. I feel like that should not have been brought up at all.
Yep. That was one of the ones that pointed out to me. I didn't feel like it was like worthwhile to have the conversation, right? Like that should never have been brought up. It should have never been like it just didn't ring through. I think Mike Pence's like really resounding smackdown on Kamala Harris is when he brought up her record about while she was the Attorney General of California. Like that's one of those things that there is a distinct difference in what her record stated in California and what it flipped to when she moved to the Senate.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, do you mind if I add a little something to this, or would you? As someone, and I need to clarify because I don't know. I feel like I came off different at the beginning of this. I'm someone that has come to peace with the fact that I got to vote for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and I'll handle that afterwards. But I add an additional measurement to politicians in how they update their policies if they actually follow through on that. So if she genuinely makes a change to the policy she implements, I'm willing to give her the benefit of a doubt. I will not expunge what she has done, but I am willing to give politicians in general the benefit of a doubt initially if they say or seem to be attempting to change what they're doing.
So I can't, but so I would agree with you. However, with regards to Kamala, she had her chance to display that when she voted against the First Steps Act, the First Step Act.
When was that?
2018, I think. They brought. It was mentioned in the debate, but it was the one that it was the criminal justice reform bill, the bipartisan one, where it was mostly. It was like some Republicans and then like the progressive Democrats, like the Bernie Warren types. They signed it, and then you had like more like small government Republicans who signed it, but then you had like it was mostly like the corporate establishment, the center left, center right. Like the Mitch McConnell and like Pelosi types who voted against it.
I mean, you know my whole idea is I'm very in favor of. I've always voiced it to you as a changing of the old guard, which is to say, Pelosi's crew needs to rotate out.
I actually see it as it's a revolution of the elite. But this is neither the time nor the place to talk about it.
Okay.
But I have this entire theory of what's going on right now. But no, but we're starting to see a shift in the managerial class in regards to they're trying to decide.
Can you define managerial class for me, just so I'm
the financiers, the CEOs, Wall Street generals. Hold on, let me actually find a better. I don't know. It's probably best. So from Burnham's managerial.
If it's something that's already a pre-established definition, I could just look it up.
Well, it is, but different people use it to mean different things. For instance, you'll
I just want to hold up everyone's time.
Okay, yeah, same. Okay, so with regards to who I think won, I don't think any of them did. I actually think they both performed rather poorly. And what they were trying to do is they were mostly trying to employ tactics that more or less were just skin deep as a measure, like as a means of virtue signaling or trying to make them come off a certain way without actually talking about anything. Like Mike Pence was trying to be the nice guy, whereas Kamala was trying to be like Miss Sassy, I'm a strong, independent woman type.
Okay, I don't like that generalization. I'm not speaking the part of Kamala Harris, merely in the fact that I feel like people use those generalizations against feminist movements in general. That's neither here nor there.
I'm not talking about that.
I know. I'm not angry at anything you're saying. Yeah, it was just virtue signaling entirely back and forth. The biggest issue with Pence is that Trump picked him basically as a signal to just the rest of the Republican establishment that, hey, I've got a back for you. He did not pick Pence for debate skills.
The thing is, because
Pence can't debate. It's just
no, he's not. He's not a good debater. I just think he's slightly better than Kamala. But that's not okay. Maybe it should be okay. So Kamala is good at like snapping back. She's good at snapping back at people.
I respect that you dislike Kamala, but I feel like that may be clouding your judgment of the overall performance.
Maybe. It's possible, but I don't think. But I still think. I think that Kamala and Pence. I think they did bad in different ways.
Guys,
so they even out. Yes.
Joe Biden just bought the domain to flieswillvote.com, and it redirects to iwillvote.com, and I find that funny.
Power play. The race is heating up.
Fly. I just googled fly. I'm going to news right now. Fly lingers on Mike. 10 minutes ago.
Did y'all see the picture where it looks like he blew a blood vessel open in his eye?
Who, Biden?
It's terrifying. He looks like when the zombie turns in Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Debate was
fly lingers on Mike Pence's head at Vice. Okay, it went by a lot faster than the other one, it seemed, even though they were the same amount of time. But yeah.
Do you hear the people sing?
Somebody already made an account. Mike Pence's fly.
Well,
Base.
Thank you, Twitter denizens.
22. They had to be 22. How many followers does it have already?
Click on it. Let's see.
300. I'm now following it. I'm gonna tweet follow. Everybody follow the accounts. Mike Pence's fly.
I'm not gonna do that.
I'm gonna say follow this account. Subscribe to PewDiePie, guys.
Oh. The account is fucking restricted.
Yay, AIDS.
No, it's not. Anyway, so, yeah, no, the thing is,
the Lincoln Project already has an ad too.
The Lincoln Project. Okay, can we all agree the Lincoln Project is kind of cringe?
It is cringe.
Yes, absolutely.
It's cringe, but it's useful for serving the goals I want.
I agree with you. I agree. Okay, I can speak to you, Al, or Alkazei, however the fuck it is.
Alkazei. You can just call me Al if you're too dumb.
I will completely admit I'm a dumbass, and I'm just tired. I will let the record state I did not deny I was a dumbass.
And I am a fucking moronic piece of shit.
Good morning, hello.
You are a dumbass if you do not believe in God. Because
I would like to start this debate by telling the American people that I am indeed a dumbass, but I'd like to move forward from that. It's really cringe that and part of the reason I think Pelosi's crew needs to go is the fact that, like, the entire Democratic establishment just let Republicans make their ad campaign when it's shown that they do not support the long-term interests of the party. But also, I mean, if it does what I need it to, I'm willing to let it slide. I have them blocked.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see how it happened, though. I won't say I'm shocked.
Yeah, but the thing is, okay, so if the Republican Party, let's say the Republican Party basically loses most of its power, like
that was a great reaction.
No, loses most of its
the Republican Party.
Let's say we see the rise of, I don't want to say one party state, but let's say the Democrats become like the sole, like effectively the sole party.
What would happen?
No, I'm saying, what do you think would happen? Do you think because I think if that happens, the party's just going to split in two, and you're going to get a more conservative Democratic Party, you're going to get a progressive one, and then all the former Republicans are going to go to the more conservative Democratic Party, and then make that like a big tent conservative party.
What's gonna happen? Yeah, you would have the Democratic,
or maybe neoliberal party would be a better way of putting it.
Oh my god, dude! Don't make me come. Anyways, the more left wing party, would split off and call themselves dumb, like the Progressive Party or something like that, or the Social Democrat Party.
Or what was it that Celestial when we were playing that we were doing that simulation game, he called it the Progressive Patriots Populist Party. That's what he called his party. He created a single party, and everyone but nobody wanted to join, and he was getting mad. And we were telling him, no, at this point, there's no point in creating another party. There's already a party that fits your ideology.
Yeah.
He just wanted to make a party for the sake of making a party.
I remember that. That was so cringe.
And then he got really upset when no one.
Remember when Clossington was like, "Hey, can we buy stocks in the government?"
That was great.
Anyways, let's not talk.
I wish that actually would have went on a little bit longer. That was quite fun.
Yeah, I was thinking of starting another one because there's basically this other one that's going on right now. But the thing is, it was ratioed by a bunch of unironic evangelical theocrats, and now they have control of the government.
Oh, speaking of evangelicals, the Republican Party should kick out the evangelicals.
Yes.
Yes.
I actually agree with that.
Thank God, a bipartisan stance.
Josh Hawley is also a fascist.
They should fucking throw all of the goddamn evangelical Christians out of the Republican Party and say, fuck you, there's a separation of church and state for a reason because you guys are fucking lunatics.
Okay, but then I feel like, but the thing is, I feel like the Democrats are so cynical at this point, though, that they'd find a way to try to bring them in. And the thing is, they'd be willing to sacrifice on some social issues if it meant that they got their economic agenda.
The main issue with the Democrats right now is that they are having a fairly open party schism, and they are just losing their shit about it.
It was the Republic. That's what the Republicans were going through back in 2006. Because the thing is, right before 2016, the Republican Party looked like it was going to be dead within a number of years. The Republican Party was simply a moniker that referred to a bunch of completely unrelated, completely disparate with regards to policy sub-factions that all hated each other. And the only thing they had in common was that they called themselves conservative, some sort of vague and varying degree. The thing is, so you had all these different, basically the Republican Party was a collection of different parties. Then Trump just comes in and steamrolls the thing. And whether you like it or not, Trump ended up reinvigorating the Republican Party and gave it a completely different identity. that's not it. Well, the Republican Party is not the same Republican Party it was even
The Republican
6-7 years
Party
ago.
has survived because it did the exact same thing it did with economic stimulus. It propped itself up on a reliable minority and is hoping to ride that out for as long as it can before.
Well, the thing is, the Democrats at this point are more capitalist in a lot of respects than the Republicans. Like, the Republicans aren't even capitalists anymore; they're mercantilists. They basically went back to like 17th century economics, especially on trade. The only good thing, yeah, I agree. No, the only good thing for the economy Trump has done was some of his deregulation, but that's literally it.
Oh, also, as John McCain once said, the king, that is John McCain once said, Jerry Falwell Sr. Fuck, what should we call it? Is a hate monger or whatever the fuck did he said.
Oh, fun. Also, Barry Goldwater, who's known
Agents of Intolerance. That's the word he used.
Barry Goldwater, who literally had the nickname Mr. Conservative because he was like, for their time, he was seen as extremely far right. Yet he was also this goes to show you what the Republican Party was like before the evangelicals came. Barry Goldwater was for gay rights. He was also for legalizing marijuana, and he was he also hated, or he was for the separation of church and state and hated evangelicals. For instance, he has this one great quote where he was like, "I swear somebody ought to kick that Jerry Falwell bastard in his ass, or right in the ass."
Oh,
and
man,
he said that he said that like in a live interview. And then he also
can you link me that interview? That's like
no, it's apparently it's lost, but there's transcripts of it. And then also he said right as the evangelicals basically started to take over, this is shortly before he died, he said, "I swear when I'm gone, the Republican Party is going to go to the dogs." But no, Goldwater, I think, is probably one of the best presidents we've never had.
Well, even in his like preemptive nuclear stuff.
No, the thing is, he was taken out of context with that. Well, the thing is, what they said was, they said, "Would you be willing to entertain using?" And they were referring to tactical nuclear weapons here. "Would you be willing to entertain it if it came down to it?" And what he said was, "I don't like those sort of black and white questions." He said, like, or what was it was like, he was basically saying he didn't like this sort of one, like this or that kind of questions, and he said that he would be open to it if that option was on the table, or he said like nothing's off the table.
Yeah,
but he was not actually. But then LBJ completely took him out of context, their campaign, and then LBJ was the one who Barry Goldwater just wanted a quick in and out. He just wanted to get it done with. Whereas LBJ carried on that war for 7 years and carried it on after his first term, purposefully continued perpetuating it because he was like to make himself more popular ultimately, and because wartime presidents are generally elected for a second term because of the stability, and they don't want to have a transition in power in the middle of the war. That's why Bush was elected a second term. And so he did that just so he could get reelected too. So I don't know.
Oh, by the way, I dropped that sourcing you wanted on the Republican National Committee's commitment to overturning the gay marriage ruling by the Supreme Court.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at that.
Oh yeah, I saw that's fucking major cringe.
Yeah, I know, right?
Also,
especially when 61% of Republicans are actually, or Republican voters, I'm going to say Republican voters, are for gay marriage.
Also, can we? Huh?
I just scrolled down based on that link, and it says this was from 2016. Republican platform 2016.
Yeah, but the thing is, they copied and pasted from the 2016 platform.
No, that's fine. That's all I was wanting to know.
Yeah, like I don't. It's still not a good look, even if they just.
Fuck no! I hate the idea that the Republican Party has just said, "Who gives a shit?" Like, go fuck whoever you want. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, he has a. No,
anyways, do we stand NATO here? I will die on the NATO hill. I want to go back to that conversation.
Absolutely.
Yay or NATO? Yay or NATO? What do you say?
Yay toe.
Yato. No, you see, I'm actually I'm against NATO. I'm for creating Yato.
I think I see what you mean, but that just sounds weird, man.
No, I want to create Yato. Yeah.
You want to create Yato? Okay, fair.
No, but that's we should just call it Imperium Mundi.
No, America.
It means global empire.
Me personally, when it comes to NATO, right there's nothing that in from what I've seen that comes from NATO that we can't do with like a mutually because my main problem with NATO is that it doesn't end, right? Like it has to exist, right?
The thing is, no, NATO still. The thing is, it's not so much NATO itself. It's more so how they go about doing things. They still have NATO is still very much in a Cold War mindset.
Yes,
They haven't adapted. They haven't
Step
changed,
one,
and it's not working in its favor because the
Yep.
world is not like that
Yep,
anymore.
I agree with
What do
you.
you mean? Russia's still a threat to U.S. security.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not.
And for one, you could still restructure NATO to like have a counterbalance to rise of Chinese power, especially if you just drop the North Atlantic part and just let anyone in.
Toe? You just call it toe? No, I'm
Just
kidding.
like either that or just create another NATO, but for like the Asia Pacific region.
What I'm saying is that what we can do is we can create like the ability to like stop NATO, like the thing from existing, right? And whenever there's like a major threat, these agreements can then snap back into place and all the funding ramps back up. Right?
That's like so basically like feudalism, like raising an army when the war comes, and then going back to fighting.
Well, I'm not talking about feudalism, man. Like,
well, I was joking. I was joking, but
no,
I see what you mean. Yeah,
right. Because the thing with NATO is that like we have to continue to pay into that year after year, and I don't see the actual benefits that NATO provide out. Right?
well, they provide more benefit. It's not just that. The thing is, they also because the thing is, you always need to have military intel, or not military. You always need to have intelligence. You always need to be keeping an eye. It's an ongoing thing. You need to be doing all of these things. You also need to uphold the infrastructure because you can't just like have a building, knock it down, and then right as soon as you need the building again, expect that it's going to pop up right again. Like, I mean, you still need to upkeep it. So I'm just being hypothetical here. I'm not taking a stance one way or another. But wait, where did he go?
I don't know. The thing with that is it's like I'm not.
Didn't he say he was gonna go?
I don't know. The thing with that is I'm not talking about killing like individual countries' intelligence apparatuses, right?
Look, okay, I gotta go. I got class.
Oh, okay. I was about to say. I was gonna go for another 3 minutes, but if you guys do have to go, that's fine. Any Alkazei, any closing statements?
Biden 2020.
And damnation.
America will never be a socialist country. Period.
Okay. Good night, everybody.